This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education and Public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting at the location listed above, which is 870 Colfax. Questions may be submitted beforehand to liz.goodwin@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 5:35 p.m. We will begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Secretary Triplett, can you please call roll?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present, Treasurer Creighton,
Present.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Present.
Trustee Doyle, Trustee Gavin. A quorum has been established.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Next, we have approval of the agenda. But before we proceed, Dr. Butts, do you have the updated information on auditors? Is that something that we're ready to proceed on?
So, I'm sorry, Madam President, with the auditors, I did reach out to the external partner. They have not returned a call that was recommended.
So do you want to proceed with the original auditor that you recommended?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this particular time, I ask if there's a motion to approve the agenda.
So
Madam
moved.
President,
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett. Trustee Bowens, were you supporting?
and I can come after, right?
Mhm.
But I'm gonna make adjustment. I can support it.
You want to make an amendment?
Mhm.
Okay.
Let me go through and
Trustee Bowens is wanting to make a suggestion of an amendment to the agenda. Trustee Triplett, would you mind giving him the floor before we continue with your motion?
No.
Okay, you have the floor.
Madam President, I would like for us to implement a 2-minute rule. I know that was last year's board rule. We did not discuss that, and also 2 minutes with citizen comments.
So if it's okay with you, I would like to double check the OMA. I don't believe that we're required to do the 3 minutes. I think that might have just been what the standard bylaw is. And I believe that we would need to make a change to the bylaw in order to make an adjustment to that particular time frame. So would you mind giving us an opportunity to review that further?
Okay, so I want us to go back then to trustee comments. That's 2 minutes.
Okay, so you are wanting to, I want to make sure I hear you want to add an item to the agenda to vote to limit trustee comments to 2 minutes?
Yes.
And are you wanting to do that 2 minutes per agenda item? As we had before?
That is correct.
President Robinson,
You have the floor.
I have a question. So did that expire or is it in place until we actually change it?
I don't believe it expired. I think it's just that Liz stopped adding it to the agenda.
Gotcha. Okay,
Okay,
so it's set already. We don't need to, okay.
okay. Yes, please.
Just as a reminder. Okay, so we don't have to actually revisit it.
Yes,
So would you like to support Secretary Triplett's motion to approve the agenda?
yes, please.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Secretary Triplett to approve the agenda with the support by Trustee Bowens. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett also want to make sure we note that Ms. Gavin arrived probably about 5:37. Notate that in your notes.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
that would be the recording secretary. She does that because I don't have any space on here for
No,
my
I just whoever's job. Okay,
recording.
awesome. All right, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for approval of the agenda.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett. Yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have review of our board norms, the Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table, and we will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and pursuing positive intentions. Next, we have public comment on agenda items. However, I would like to take this time to recognize our newly selected Miss Benton Harbor 2003, 2023. 2003 is my year.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
I know. Sorry,
First
a
round up.
little nostalgic. So I would like to acknowledge her and give her an opportunity to approach the podium and greet the board or her community if she'd like to. And I did offer you a special invitation to attend because you brought the crown home to Benton Harbor High School.
Yes.
And we're so very grateful. So we just want to acknowledge you. And if you still have it handy, I'm wondering if you would like to utilize your 3 minutes to recite your platform for us. Do you still have it? All right, well, come on up.
Yes, 3 minutes now. All right, take this off.
Hi, everyone. I am Madison Collins, Miss Benton Harbor 2023. To inspire and enable all young people to realize their fullest potential as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. This is a mission that I have stood on since I was 6 years old. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Madison Collins. I am Miss Benton Harbor 2023, and my platform is entitled A Foundation of Love. Growing up in the city of Benton Harbor, Michigan has enabled me to experience family and community in every aspect of both worlds possible. My grandmother adopted me at the tender age of 2 months old, and my father and caretaker transitioned when I was only 10 and 16. It was in those times that the rich, historic, and diverse city of Benton Harbor aided me create a foundation of love. Thus, this foundation of love has allowed me to exceed every expectation and go beyond any limit one could ever set for themselves. Like so many Benton Harbor natives before me, I have been blessed with a multitude of positive role models, outlets, and extracurricular activities that have all helped shape the young woman I am today. The Boys and Girls Club welcomed and nurtured me from a young age and allowed me to develop my talents and build my character. Being a member of the club has also opened many doors for me. I was recently titled the 2020-2021 UPS Roll Code Ambassador, and I am now an active member of the Benton Harbor softball team, Ivy team, and captain of both the Benton Harbor High School varsity cheer team and the Once Dance Troupe. Each of these opportunities continues to magnify my dreams beyond any limit that has been set before me. Coupled with the accolades God has blessed to achieve within my scholastic career has also enchanted encounters with advocates for change who are also Benton Harbor natives. Carlos Mason, Jasmine Newburn, Shakita White, and Ardell Clark have all showcased their dedication to renewing our community while remaining authentic and true to themselves. Thus, I feel it is both an honor and obligation to return that love to other young men and women in our community and remind them that your past does not determine your future. Joshua 1:9 reads, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Therefore, I was selected as Miss Benton Harbor, and I will dedicate my reign to empowering and mentoring the youth of Southwest Michigan and remind them daily that they can live life renewed. It is my sole mission to help them realize they can experience setback, loss, and even tragedy and still come on our top. In the words of the late Mr. Jose Turner, who was my favorite teacher and who ran the PAC, hold it down, Collins. And that's what I plan to do. Again, I am Madison Collins, Miss Benton Harbor 2023. Thank you.
Amazing job. I also heard it's a special day for you. It's your birthday. So we want to wish you a very happy birthday from the Board of Education, and we thank you for taking time on your special day to come here and join us. Thank you so much, and congratulations from Benton Harbor Area Schools. You have the floor, Trustee Bowens.
I'm sorry.
Vice President Bowens. Thank you.
Congratulations. And, so often we see the queen, the finished product, but our president and our secretary, Mr. Triplett, you guys deserve a round of applause for your hard work, dedication, and behind the scenes work and putting on a show that lasted 5 hours and 36 minutes and 22. No, I'm sorry. But thank you. And
Thank you,
congratulations.
Vice President Bowens. All right, before we proceed with public comment, does anyone else have any additional comments?
Yes, I have.
You have the floor.
Yes, I really would like to take this opportunity to say that I appreciate the support of this Board of Education. For those of you all who took the opportunity to come out and be a part of it, I hope you really, really enjoyed it. To our interim superintendent, thank you so very, very much for your support. But I really, really, really want to say this. Been doing this for some time now. And since Mr. Linus, the question was asked, the Performing Arts Center was rebuilt in 1976. And I was a sophomore here at Benton Harbor High School when we got our new Performing Arts Center. And since then, there's been a lot of things throughout the transition. There's been a lot of neglect and through cutbacks and what have you. But I want to say to Mr. Bullock, and I want to say this publicly, this entire weekend, 24/7, everything that we needed, to try to make this a wonderful affair, a wonderful event. The phone calls on Sunday, the phone calls on Friday, the phone calls on Saturday, just trying to get everything set up. Chairs removed from the top to the bottom so that when our guests came from throughout Southwest Michigan, nobody went to the floor and did the splits. Everything that we needed done, Mr. Bullock and his staff made that happen. And a lot of times, people just don't get the credit that they are due. And I came up yesterday just to walk through and make sure that we had gotten everything out of the Performing Arts Center in past years. Talking to the president, those same flowers would be there the following year. When I got up here to this school Monday, at 11 o'clock, with Benton Harbor, myself, and Mr. Benton Harbor came. The Performing Arts Center was completely clean. The student commons was completely clean. This room was clean. Every classroom was clean and ready for Tuesday's open. That's what striving for excellence means. And so I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody, because even though we have some things that we need to do, it was a long show, and it was a difficult show for us behind the scenes, because there were some things that we really honestly needed, for us to be able to communicate and so it had us really stagnant. Our show is usually about 3.5 hours, because these kids have worked for months to prepare, and we have platform presentations like you heard tonight. Other competitions don't have that. And so is unique to Benton Harbor. And thank you all so much. I thank you, Ms. Treasurer Creighton, for coming off of your trip and driving from Detroit to be here that day. I thank President Robinson for stepping in the 11th hour to serve as the Mistress of Ceremonies for the Mr. Ben Harbor competition, to Trustee Bowens and to our Vice President Bowens and to Trustee Rocket Martin. Thank you. It meant the world to me to see you all there. And I just want to say thank you so very, very much. And to Madison, to bring it back to Benton Harbor High School, I can't be partial as the chairman, but I think, their question was something to the effect of renewal, the new things and the good things that are happening to Benton Harbor, and how, if you were chosen, how would you, contribute to this renewal? And for it to come back to this school, the pride that you heard, from the people in the audience and what have you, and from her visit just for her coming to school today, the clapping when the principal of Benton Harbor High School announced that she was in the building, and that it was not only she was crowned with Benton Harbor, but it was her birthday. It was told to me that you could hear clapping from the classrooms all over this building. So I'm proud of all of the young ladies and the young men who participated in this competition. Our king is from St. Joseph High School, and he is an absolutely amazing representative as well. So thanks again. I'm so proud of you. I'm looking forward to our year and working with you. And you can go now so you can celebrate with your friends for your birthday, and happy birthday.
Be safe as well. All right, so we are going to continue with public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment on agenda items? I'm going to read the statement. Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on the educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda, of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. You have the floor.
Good evening, and I want again, I'm thanking Madison for coming in. She really touched my soul. I remember a time in this era when we walk into high school, we had counselors. I remember Mr. Lowell was my counselor when I walked in, and we would be guided all the way through from the 9th grade to the 12th grade. We had student counselors, and for her to achieve the things that she achieved is a great accomplishment because she did not give up. As I look at the agenda, I was just wondering, you have the strategic plan update, and I was just wondering if the strategic plan update was on the website so that the community would have an understanding what the strategic plan is. Would this be a strategic plan for the 22-23 school year? Or, I know y'all are not gonna answer, but I'm just wondering if y'all could give me some kind of feedback on it, just let us know if that strategic plan is on the website. Yep, and again, I would like to once again say that this is a school that had a lot of pride. One of the things that touched me when she got up here and spoke is the fact that she was able to stand strong even in the face of adversity. Even in the face of adversity. I remember it was an era time when this was the pride of Benton Harbor, this high school, just a district in itself. And you know, once again, we see that we're trying to make this school roar again. You know, I'm so excited about what is to come, you know, with this new partnership agreement. You know, what success is not, it's only thing is success, because failure is not an option. And I am just so grateful as we move forward that we all have the time to put in to these kids, because these kids deserve that. They truly deserve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items? You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
Marvin Haywood, activities director for the Fresh Start Children's Garden. Yes.
And I'm Emma Kennard. And I'm the I guess you said the forerunner of putting the Fresh Start Children's Garden together. It was my dream. I worked a number of years with the agri-science program here at the high school, and after I retired, I formed that garden is to continue to have access to our youngsters here in the community, because they are my pride and joy. I love to see these young people grow and us to have everything that they need to help them to grow healthy. I sort of make the garden as a metaphor for them. You know, it takes a lot of nurturing, rain, sunshine, and all the other things to help that plant to grow good, but you got to also work it and pull the weeds out from around it. The weeds will rob it of its energy and its space and begin to choke it out. That's right. So what we have to do is we have to maintain our growth of our youngsters that are growing here and have them everything that they need. I was really excited when I saw the staging, Miss Chris. Now, they said a lot of people don't get the perks that they should. She is dynamite. She does an excellent job. And I thought the stage was so beautiful this year. I was just really amazed. I know that they do your best every year, but it was acceptable this year from what I could see. And so I'm so glad to see the school going. I didn't get one of the little flyers there to know what the agenda has on it today to speak of it. But however, I do want to just comment on how I'm looking forward to great improvements with the school, and I'm excited about what I see already. And Ms. Gavin, I'm so happy to see you there. And you always took a great interest in our youth, and I'm so glad to see you where you best fit. And so thank you all. And Ms. Doyle is not here tonight, but I'm so glad to see them as an addition to the board here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Next, we have approval of the meeting minutes from special session 12/22/2022.
I make a motion that we approve the special meeting minutes.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton. Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Secretary Triplett. Questions, comments, concerns?
Question,
You have the floor.
President Robinson, with me not having been on the board at that time, would it make sense for me to abstain from the vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
I abstain.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. Our minutes have been approved. Next, for board business, we have our student representative update, and that is going to be provided by our student board representative, Jermel Jones. You have the floor.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamel Jones. I'm a senior here at Benton Harbor High School. I'm also the student representative. Some good things about the high school, the students are pretty good. We're working hard to get through the year. We have teachers that are trying their best, and we're hoping students, especially seniors, prepare for college and apply for it and can finish in and FAFSAs We finished our first semester December 22nd, 2022. And recently this Sunday, we brought home the crown when Madison College's crown Miss Benton Harbor. But some things that need to be worked on are we need teachers in the classrooms, especially for our science class, chemistry and forensic science. A lot of kids aren't virtual learners, myself included, and it's hard to understand the material when it's not an actual teacher that explaining to us. The temperatures in some of the classroom aren't a good working environment for us. Sometimes it's too hot or it's too cold, and we become more focused on the environment other than the work because we're uncomfortable. And lastly is the 8 flip-flop schedule. 4 different classes a day gets kind of a lot for us because we have to get ready for seniors have to get ready for prom, or we have work after school, and doing the after work for 4 different classes a day kind of get a lot it can kind of get frustrating. And I have a request that board members that are graduating get cords for their gowns for graduation. And that's all the updates I have for today.
Thank you. So if you all have noticed, previously, our student reps would give us a simple update of what was going on in every school. And so we've made an adjustment so that they are aware that they have the floor to give us their feedback as it relates to things that they're excited about in areas of needed improvement, so that they can have a more meaningful opportunity to give input at our meetings, because they do have the floor to speak during our discussions on each item, but sometimes they don't feel as comfortable doing so. So we want to make sure we give them room to give us that feedback. So I would ask that when he gives this update, that if he mentions something relevant to your particular committee, that you notate that for yourself, so it's something that you can review in your committee meeting for that following month. And wondering if anyone has any feedback or any comments regarding the update provided. Trustee Bowen. Vice President Bowen.
I got a quick question, Jamil. On your school schedule, you guys have one day you have one set of classes, and then the next day you have another set of classes, correct?
Yeah, so say Monday it would be 1st through 4th hour, and then Tuesday would be 5th through 8th hour.
So it's a possibility, say you're sick, one day you only really get a class.
Yeah, you will get that set of class one times out of the week, unless they have it again on Friday. If they don't, you only take those 4 classes that one time that week.
I got serious concerns with that. You know, a parent reached out to me this week, and I thank you for bringing that up. I think we need to look at that curriculum committee to see what other districts are, and how do we make sure if we're testing them and they're doing exams on geometry and all of this, and we're only giving them, and they're missing days. Of course, our numbers are going to be skewed. Another thing I do want to say is kudos to this board, because we've been doing it, but St. Joe just implemented having a first student board member. And back in 2007, 2006, I was the student board representative for those 2 years. So kudos to Benton Harbor Schools for being the first and not the last, and to see other communities doing it. So thank you for your feedback.
Thank you, Vice President Bradley. Any additional comments? I'm
Trustee
sorry,
Bowen.
Bowen. I'm trying to get it together, Lord Jesus. Help me in this new
I have a
season.
question.
Vice President Bowens, any additional comments from the board? Treasurer Creighton. We'll go to Treasurer Creighton, and then we'll go to Trustee Rocket Martin.
I just want to thank you for that. And even if I have to buy the course myself, I will make sure. So if you have some examples next time of what you're saying, if you bring them to us, we'll make sure that's definitely a request that we can accommodate. And then I guess my question, he mentioned needing teachers. I just wonder if you can provide some clarification for us, because we do have our chiefs there as well, and this might not be something that they're aware of. So that might be something, if you have any clarification that you can provide, when you say you need teachers, what do you mean by that?
So with the science classes, we will have someone in there that watches us. but it's not a person that's in there that explains the material to us.
Gotcha.
We do our work through the computer. We need a person that's there to help the students
Gotcha. Thank you.
understand.
Thank you. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes, I'd like to also thank Jamel for coming and doing such a fine job of explaining their needs. And also the scheduling, that must be something that's in the county because they do the same thing in Berrien Springs. When I was talking to a student, they have math every other day and then English, so I don't know if that's the new thing or whatever, but it's worth looking into. And then also, I understand about not having teachers because in some of that subject matter, you do need a teacher versus a proctor versus just somebody there. I can remember my grandson went virtual for a little while at Cape. And it helps to have a person in there that's knowledgeable about the material. The programs do a pretty good job of explaining it, but it still helps to have a teacher. So we'll be looking out for you there. HR is working hard. I'm on the HR committee. We are working hard to fill all of those positions with bodies.
Thank you.
Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. Jamel, that's it. Jamel, thank you so much for your presentation. I was trying to understand a little bit better. Are the students frustrated with having 4 classes one day and a different 4 classes the next day, or just having that many classes at all?
Yeah, it's the 4 classes one day and the different 4 classes the next day. It's the continual flip-flopping between different classes every day that gets frustrating.
So you're saying they would rather have 8 classes, the whole 8 classes in one day?
Yes, because it's something that we can look forward to. And if we do the work at home, we can turn it in the next day instead of holding on to it and for whatever the next set of classes is.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, any additional comments?
And I think, having sat as the chairman of the curriculum committee, I would like to, first of all, thank you, Jamel, for bringing this to the Board of Education. I think there are a lot of things that are happening so how long have you all been doing this in this manner? Did you just start this year? Did you guys do this last year?
Yeah, it's just started this year. Last year, we had all our classes in one day.
And you had how many classes? 6?
Yeah, about 6.
You had 6 classes last
Yeah.
year. And this year, at the beginning of
This month.
the school year, when did this start?
So the first semester of last year, I was here basically the first semester of last year. We had all our classes in one day. And in the beginning of this year, it was the block schedule, the flip-flop schedule.
So you guys have gone from 6 classes
Mhm.
to block schedule now to this.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, any additional questions?
Is there any way that the superintendent can explain? Because this is my first time. I thought I missed something. I'm not sure.
Dr. Butts, do you have any additional comments, or Chief Waddell? They're asking for clarification regarding the block schedule.
Chief Waddell.
Thank you. We actually explored this back in December because my intent was also to go back to a day-to-day schedule. However, we put a survey out to the staff, and at the time, the staff did not feel that that was the best move to make in the middle of the school year. So at this point, we will be making that adjustment in the fall. I am in 100% agreement with you, Vice President Bowens, that it's not enough time for instruction. It's not. And that was what we were discussing in December. However, after doing a survey, meeting with several teachers, meeting with Dr. Butts and their team, it just wasn't a good move to make in the middle of the school year. It would have been more disruptive from their perspective. So that is something that we are going to be changing in the fall.
Trustee Bowens has a follow-up question.
Are you seeing any performance issues academically with test scores and everything?
So in my presentation this evening, I'll be updating you on the common formative assessments. And yes, the scores are not the best. And that is why I was trying to make that change.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and proceed. If there's any additional questions, but thank you so much for providing your update to us. We look forward, I know you can barely see me. But we look forward to receiving your feedback in our future meetings, and we appreciate and value you more than you know. We are going to proceed with committee member selections. So I did put the committee assignments in your binder. And so I did my best to try to accommodate individuals on the committees that they asked for. Everyone has at least one that they wanted. Some of the changes kind of made sense, and I'll kind of go through that. So as it relates to the curriculum and SPED committee, that is Ronaldo Triplett, Deshauna Robinson, and Elnora Gavin. Human resources is trustee Rockette Martin, trustee Bowens, and trustee Robinson, or President Robinson, Vice President Bowens, I'm sorry. Finance is treasurer Creighton, trustee Rockette Martin, and trustee Doyle. Facilities is trustee Bowens, Vice President Bowens, treasurer Creighton, and secretary Triplett. And then the disciplinary committee is trustee Triplett. I'm sorry, secretary Triplett, trustee Gavin, and then trustee Doyle as the alternate. The disciplinary committee only requires that there be 2 board members when our trustees are needed. So I did assign 3 in the event that one of the 3 is not available. And although Doyle is listed as the alternate, that's so if Secretary Triplett's schedule or Trustee Gavin's schedule does not permit them to attend, we have Trustee Doyle in the wing that can step in and assist. Treasurer Creighton was added to the Facilities Committee. That's a change for this year because finance and facilities go hand in hand. And I know one of the major things that we're trying to do is get our facilities plan in place. So I thought it made the most sense that she sit on both of those committees. I know Trustee Gavin is extremely passionate about curriculum, so I wanted to ensure that she got an opportunity to be on that committee. And so for that reason, I did slide Trustee Rockette Martin down to the Finance Committee to provide support to Treasurer Creighton, and then allow Doyle to step in with finance as well. So these will be our committee selections for the year. Bowens was placed back on facilities because he had that previous experience before. And Secretary Triplett is returning to facilities so that we don't have a completely different committee. You be able to be there and kind of go over what we've done. So each committee has at least one returning member so that the business can continue uninterrupted. But these are your committees for the 2023 school year.
So the chairman, the first person listed.
No, the chairman is actually selected by the committee. So in your committees, your first item of business needs to be selecting who your chairman will be. And normally we haven't really had difficulty in selecting a chairman, but if there's more than one person that wants to be chairman, then it would come down to a vote. And obviously that third person would be put in, kind of put in the middle to make the decision as to who they support for chairman.
With the disciplinary committee, I would like for us to go back and revisit that. The last administration made some changes and some adjustments. So I do not agree with as it relates to how we did our disciplinary committee for years. I think the disciplinary committee should be made up of 3 of the board members, as it has been done previously down through the years. The superintendent will in turn, when they are ready for the expulsion of students, the superintendent, principals, or whoever else will bring that to the Board of Education to review. And then we will be the party that makes a decision whether or not a student is expelled. That is the responsibility of the Board of Education. It has been done that way historically. Last year, it was switched up for some unknown reason. With people, my understanding, with people just, I would like us to investigate that and go back to it, because we are the representative of our citizens and our constituents. I think that it gives us an opportunity for them to present it to the Board of Education, and the Board of Education makes the final vote as to whether or not the student should actually be expelled. Because the way this structure is set up, I don't know what the purpose of the disciplinary committee is for as it relates to the Board of Education. This structure gives the superintendents the power and say so to suspend our students without due process and come before the Board of Education. So I would like for us to go back to our old policy and where the Board of Education, when they get ready to bring a student to be expelled, the superintendent will bring that student. The principal will present their case and we will make a decision whether or not the necessary steps were taken, and we will make the final decision as we were suspended from our school district.
Okay, so in response to that, Secretary Triplett, you have a disciplinary committee. You all can connect with each other to determine a time that fits best for you. And you can review those policies with Superintendent Butts. The specific policies that you're referring to are 5610, emergency removal, suspension, and expulsion of non-disabled students. 5605 also applies because it's in regards to students with disabilities. And then 5611 is due process rights. So that's 5605, 5610, 5611, asking that committee meet at a time that works best for you and include Dr. Butts and any other staff member that he thinks is relevant, maybe Ms. Nichols. I know she normally takes the lead on that from an internal standpoint, and then get back with the Board of Education regarding your findings. Trustee Bowens.
You know, on the disciplinary issues, I do know some school districts even allow a review of their peers. I don't know if that would be legal for us, but their peers could, you know, set in two people, I don't know, where it's neutral, it's across the board. You have the adults, you have a review of the peers, and they're given that. That's just something to think about on that.
Secretary Triplett.
Because having served on the Board of Education, we're having served in an administrative position. When we took students to the Board of Education, there were things that the Board of Education identified, steps that were not followed correctly through the district as an administrator, a former administrator. And so, you know, we get an opportunity to review to see that it's just a checks and balance. So when we've had students that were brought to that Board of Education, and when we went through and reviewed what they were presenting, we had to fall back within the legal parameters, within the guidelines, because they did not present it properly, or they did not do the necessary steps for the student to actually be expelled. And so it gives the superintendent an opportunity, and it gives the board an opportunity to review, so we make sure that all steps are followed, and we have a conversation to because at one point, this is what was told to us. One of our superintendents made the statement that there have not been enough students expelled from the schools. Why haven't there been any students expelled? We need students expelled, only to find out that there was a vendor. When those students were expelled, that those students would go to this particular vendor, who happened to be a friend. And see, we have to have things in place. We cannot do that. And then when that was made, then all of a sudden, 70 students were expelled from the school district. I think it's our responsibility as members of this Board of Education. It's not about not trusting people, but it's making sure that we have the correct protocols and systems and checks and balance in place. It's not about personal, it's about business. So that's my concern. And I think it's our responsibility as members of this Board of Education, who the citizens of this community have identified as their voice and representatives and speaking on their behalf. So thank you.
Madam President,
You have the floor, Treasurer Creighton.
I'm really excited for the enthusiasm of this committee, and I'm excited to hear about the policy recommendations that'll be made by the disciplinary committee. I'm grateful for the two committees that I'm on, and I'm looking forward to doing more committee work in the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? If not, we'll proceed with the agenda.
Question, President Robinson.
You have the floor.
I'm excited to serve in any capacity that you choose, as I am qualified for any of these committees. My question would be, is there already a set day and time for us to begin meeting?
So curriculum committee, Ms. Waddell, can you remind me of what time? And if each of you could let us know, Liz might have it quicker, pull up of what the standard meeting schedule was. That's a really good question. Trustee Gavin.
Thank you.
So once you get a chance to check your email, I've already invited you to the next meeting, which is the 24th at 4 p.m. And it's normally the second to the last Tuesday of each month. Let me make sure I'm
I
actually.
think the fourth, right?
Fourth. See, on this one, I have the 4th. So yeah, so it looks like it's the 4th Tuesday of each month. At 4 p.m., but we can adjust that. Just let me know what's best.
Okay, and then Ms. Gail, can you clarify when HR committee meets?
Thank you. I also already sent invites to the HR committee members. The HR committee so far has been scheduled every last Wednesday of each month, not fourth, every last Wednesday of each month. And if that doesn't work, please let us know. We will find a more convenient time.
Is that at 4 o'clock?
4:30 p.m.
4:30. Okay. And finance, finance had been doing a noon, Treasurer Creighton, right?
Yep, fourth Wednesday noon.
Okay, so finance meets at 12 p.m. on the 4th Wednesday. And then facilities, Dr. Bus or Mr. Bullocks, do you all remember what we were doing? Was it a Tuesday? Third Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. And that would be, oh, Mr. Corson's in his position. It just dawned on me, I thought you were over there doing some tech stuff. It just, well, congratulations, kind sir. And when you have an opportunity, if you could send out your invitations to the facilities committee.
We will do so shortly.
Thank you very much and welcome to that table. It just dawned on me, I'm sorry. I thought he was helping somebody with the computer.
You got a sign with his name, nameplate.
Welcome. Okay, and then disciplinary does not have a standard monthly meeting. It is meeting as needed based on the needs of the district. Hoping you all don't have to meet because that means we have well-mannered students and no confusion going on. But I would like for you all to connect with each other to determine a date and time that works best for you prior to our next meeting to meet to review those policies.
Madam President.
And you all do have the flexibility to make adjustments to the day of the week and time that you meet based on what works best for the new committee schedule.
Madam President, first of all, I would like to say, since I've been on this Board of Education, I think we need to review what the committees are in our bylaw, what have you. First of all, these are our committee meetings. This is not their committee meeting. That's number one.
Boom.
And I think that there's a mix-up. I really do. What our bylaws say specifically, that once we establish what it is with the agendas and what have you, that it is responsibility of the superintendent and his cabinet to prepare the agenda. They are not the agenda. This is our meeting. We are not working for them. We are not going to the Board of Education meeting. And I think that was a misunderstanding. So I think we need to look at this because we let them know this is not this district meeting. This is the Board of Education. It's a Board of Education committee. And I think there has been a misunderstanding as to who is who. Because as chairman of the curriculum committee last year, I got email, which I don't have my email on my phone, that there's a meeting at this time and meeting at that time. There has been no conversation with anyone from central administration. This is our meeting. So I would like for you all, for us to revisit this so that we can get the protocol established and what it is that needs to happen. Because I feel that we are going to a meeting that I think people think that it's their meeting, and they're not on the Board of Education. They are employees of our employees. So we need to get a clear understanding of that, because that right there is a problem for me. How can a curriculum or how can a finance committee or how can a facilities committee meeting be set and we're the chairman of that particular committee and we are not a part of the establishment and the creativity and the creation of the agenda, chairman of our meeting? I think there's a misunderstanding, so I would like some clarification.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Triplett. So just so people know, if you ever see me in my phone, I'm not texting, I'm normally reviewing policy as people are speaking. And our policy does not necessarily line out how the agenda of the committee is established. However, the standard business agendas are established with the superintendent and the chair of the board.
Mhm.
So I do not think that it would be off base to follow that same procedure and have the chair of the committee and Dr. Butts or the chief, however he did, if he wants to designate the chiefs in collaborating on the agenda for the committee meetings, but that's something that we can review further as well.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
attending one of the meetings for MASB, what was a class? I think Mrs. Gavin and Ms. Doyle was also in that class with us. MASB is moving toward a different look at the committees. And so I kind of just want to put this out for us to kind of think about for the future. They're basically, and they're trying to establish it in the state of Michigan, where the committees would basically change. It would be like one committee would be a board of operations. Another committee would be the planning and development committee. Another committee would be the performance oversight and monitoring committee. And then the last committee would be external relations committee. And I did ask the teacher that was teaching the class if that was something that MASB would do in training, and they would be willing to come down and train us and give us insight on what the state of Michigan is trying to move committees to be. There are things that committees we have now that they're saying that we really should not have in place because we really don't have anything to say about them on certain issues. So, but I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, and it's a progressive move toward what the state of Michigan is moving toward. So if sometime in the future we decide to take a look, I would like to take a look at this and have somebody come down and kind of put more input on it for us, so we can see if this is the direction that we would like maybe our district to even move into. This gives us a broader heading and a broader topic of committee, of what our committee should be. So,
Okay.
with that being said, I'm done.
We look forward to that progressive wave coming, and we'll make sure we're on that train when it takes off. But as it stands currently, we'll continue as we have been doing business. But if you could send out that PowerPoint to us, just so we can have an idea of what those breakdowns look like and know what the individual responsibilities of those committees are that they're anticipating us changing to as a state.
Madam President, I think it needs to be understood that the Michigan Association of School Boards give recommendations. Just because they say it does not mean that's how we operate. Okay, and they do not give that impression, and they never, whenever they do workshops, they make it specifically clear that these are recommendations, these are things that we have, but just because we are not governed by the Michigan Association of School Boards, it is not a requirement for members of this Board of Education to be certified by the Michigan, for us to be fully certified as members of the Michigan Association of School Boards. That is just a council, because there are things within the Michigan Association of School Boards. I've been since I've been on there, I'm probably now, since former Vice President Bradley is no longer with the school board, who have been to the most classes, have the highest certification, but that does not mean that, you know, because you have that's to help you. They let you know at those meetings, and Miss Macon has come down here. She said these are just recommendations. They are just like we've accepted the MASB evaluation, but we don't have to. We can look at other evaluation tools for our superintendent, and because we are the Board of Education for Ben Harbor area schools and everything, but sometimes there are some things that are unique and specific to us. So I just want that to be clear, that for those of you all who are just starting your classes, those of you all who've been in it for a minute, just because they say it, they are not our governing body. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna proceed. One thing that I do want to notate as well is that we have individuals that are assigned to certain committees. There could be something that a particular committee would like to bring before the whole board. Or it requires more than 3 people. We can always call a special meeting if you feel as though there's a particular topic
Right.
that needs the full board present. Additionally, one thing that we've done in finance committee specifically is that we had Vice President Bradley, former Vice President Bradley, as the chair of facilities, attend the finance meeting regarding something that pertained to both committees. And Trustee Buchanan just chose to remove herself from the committee that particular day so that he could be present. So if there is fluctuation in the way that committees operate, if there is a need for the full board to be present for a meeting that's specific to the committee, or if there is a topic that is pertaining to more than one committee. So just want to make sure everyone knows that we do have that flexibility. And then we'll proceed next on the agenda. I look forward to the great work ahead. I think everyone on the committees as they stand will do an amazing job working together. This is my first time on curriculum and human resources. So I look forward to working with Secretary Triplett and Trustee Gavin, as well as Trustee Rocket Martin and Trustee Bowens in curriculum and HR. So next we have legal firms revisited. Before I state that, I've been a little gracious in allowing more than one comment per section, so that is going to cease so that we can make sure we can get through our meeting promptly. I'm going to pass the floor over to Dr. Butts. In our organizational meeting, one item that we had on there that was tabled was the lawyers, specifically Clark Hill, Mika Meyer, Seacrest, Wardle, and Lynch and Troon. There was a request for additional information regarding the legal expenses. In your packet, it should be tabbed as legal. And so I'll give the floor to Dr. Butts if he wants to kind of go through and explain the numbers that he provided. They did give us a full 5-year glance at expenses. So Dr. Butts, you have the floor to kind of go through that with us.
Thank you, Madam President. If you look over the past 5 years, you see the fluctuation in the legal firms of the monies that have been paid out. What I can speak to is that they have fluctuated, but we have come down on our spending. Over this past school term, we did have some legal questions and concerns that had to be answered, which took a little more time, but we continue to try to trend our legal usage downward.
Okay, so you'll notice that there's the grand total of what was spent in the previous school year listed on the first page. It also breaks down how much was paid to each of those individual attorneys. And then additionally, you'll see the individual amounts broke down on that back page. You'll see the total for each individual year that was paid over the last 5 years. And then you can see what we did for 2021 and 2022 comparatively to previous years such as 2018 and 2019. And then of course, we're only in the month of January, but they did reflect what we've done for 2023 as well. And just to kind of put some things in context, Mika Myers was handling a matter that required litigation for us. So we would not normally have that as a needed lawyer or firm, but there were some court dates and mediation and things of that nature that we needed to utilize them for. Seacrest, Wardle and Lynch is a law firm that we have to pay a certain percentage towards, along with other school districts in the state of Michigan. Troon is our standard. You all remember we've had changes with our superintendent, some contract needs and things of that nature that we've had to utilize their services for. And then Clark Hill is specifically regarding human resources concerns, correct, Ms. Gale? Clark Hill. Okay, so just to kind of give some clarification on those numbers and the attorneys noted. Any questions or comments, Secretary Triplett?
Yeah, and this has been a concern for 2 years as well. First of all, who authorized these people to call these attorneys? Like I said, Clark Hill is for HR. Okay, who gives the authorization to call? Who gives the authorization? Who is calling Clark Hill? What are they calling Clark Hill for? Who is calling Troon? What are we calling Troon for? We do have, this is for the Board of Education, because I'm very confused as to the role of Clark Hill and HR. Because if Clark Hill is the attorney for the Board of Education, then Clark Hill can't turn around and be against the Board of Education. It cannot. And that has been situations, this firm, attorney, this firm in particular, through my experience, has why is human resource calling Clark Hill and on whose behalf? Are each of these law firms representing the Board of Education? Because a lot of this stuff, when I came on this board, seemed great to me. And no one wants to, I just have not gotten this answer to my satisfaction. Because they are representing the Board of, I feel like the Board of Education has given up too much, and it's not about power, but the Board of Education has given up too much. You know, so when we say Troon, every time our president called Troon, I have never called an attorney from this Board of Education. So who is calling these people? Well, we got $36,000 worth of bills, or when you look over here in this print over here, $1.3 million in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So I just, when you look at the numbers, because this has been something that was pressing, just for clarification purposes, and how do we streamline? Because there are some things that we can get from other people that we don't have to necessarily use it for money.
So to provide a response to that, the attorneys that are listed are attorneys for Benton Harbor area schools. And so the Board of Education, of course, is the board for the district. And we act as a governing body, but not necessarily as a separate entity from the district. Right. So they're not necessarily the Board of Education's attorneys. They're an attorney representing the district. As it relates to Troon, most often there's a call that I might need to make, or we might need some type of paperwork or documentation. Normally what's the most expensive for us is if he has to come down here and attend a meeting, because we have to include travel, his presence. Sometimes our meetings are long. The only person outside of myself for the board that has ever contacted Troon, I think, is Vice President Bowens, but he had a question that would be best asked by him, because I don't like to be the middleman in things. So I called Troon and let Mr. Gardner know that Trustee Bowens had a question, and he called and was able to have that conversation for the clarification that he sought. And I can't remember what the particular topic was. So I do try to streamline.
President Robinson.
I do try to streamline it so that we are only reaching out to them as needed. Treasurer Craig.
I think just to clarify, I think he is asking not necessarily from a board perspective, but we're looking at $70,000 in legal expenses. And are we just picking up, calling the attorneys like it's a help desk, or are we actually in legal disputes that require a legal opinion? Because just for informational purposes, I think all of our hopefully our employees that are contacting attorneys are professionals in their areas and might not necessarily always need to rely on a legal opinion, but could simply just utilize resources. And so I think for the matters of just being efficient at this meeting, is that something that can be talked about, or can the superintendent make and put some parameters in place so that we'll know? I think some of the things that we talk about don't necessarily require a lot of conversation at the table in an effort to be efficient. This is no pun intended to anyone. But I have been reading some of the other board minutes of other districts as I was trying to learn how to do professional minutes. And I think the level of conversations that we have is the same thing that's probably going on with these attorneys, and they're charging $200-300 an hour
Right.
to really just listen to a lot of conversations. And we're really, what questions did we actually have? And so I think this is something that the superintendent and his team could put something in place to kind of make sure that there's some checks and balances, and that, this is not being used as a help desk. And then is this something that we can revisit in a committee or at another time?
Okay, Trustee Bowens.
I just want to confirm, I did get permission from our president to call the attorney. So I wasn't doing anything willy-nilly.
Okay, thank you.
The minutes up on that topic.
Yep. Okay, so the super,
Y'all can speak about it now, or you can do it later.
so the superintendent is bringing the noted firms back on this agenda for approval. They are Clark Hill, Mika Myers, Seacrest, Wardle, and Lynch and Troon. But I believe what the board is asking is that we make sure we have some internal guidelines in place to ensure that we are not calling the attorneys and incurring expenses unnecessarily. Dr. Buss, is that something that you?
Yes, ma'am. I've been waiting to comment.
Oh, you have the floor. You have to get my attention.
Oh,
I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
I was gonna wait till you finish, Madam President. In the past, I think my predecessors had given the opportunity for the attorneys to be called at the discretion of the chiefs. Moving forward, we'll be streamlining and making sure that we've used our other resources first prior to calling. The carryover that you see from this, the amount that you see from this year, 2023, was an actual carryover from last year that showed up from a payment that we just made. So when that report was pulled, that was a carryover from last fiscal year. So it's not a true representation of what we paid as of 2023, January 1. But moving forward, we'll be streamlining and putting protocols in place when we call the attorneys.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions before we proceed?
I have a question, President Robinson.
You have the floor.
My question is, has this board considered having an attorney present for our board meetings? As we are making decisions on policies and other things of that nature, just to have that wise counsel, whether it be via Zoom or a local attorney who can be present with us as we are moving forward.
So that is something I think Trustee Bowens may have suggested previously. One of the things that was a difficulty for us was the hourly rate to be present during the meeting. Our meetings at that particular time were quite lengthy. So the rate that we were doing per hour for the potential length of a meeting, I think we ultimately made a decision that it might have been an expense that was too costly for us as a district to take on at that time, but it is something that we can definitely review for this year. Okay, so Dr. Buss is actually asking, if you all remember, this was a motion, this was included in our organizational meeting and we tabled it. So at this particular time, I'm asking, is there a motion to approve the Benton Harbor Area Schools lawyers listed, which are Clark Hill, Mika Myers, Seacrest, Wardle, and Lynch and Troon?
I put a motion on the floor to approve the lawyers that are listed.
All right.
Second.
So I heard Treasurer Creighton first. The motion has been made by Trustee Bowens and supported by Treasurer Creighton. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? I'm hoping not.
I have a
Secretary,
concern.
go ahead.
True Law Firm, is that the law firm that kind of organized the takeover of Herrera? When there was an exchange of power from the school board to the CEO of schools?
Secretary Triplett, would you have that historical knowledge? That's before my time.
No, it wasn't, was it?
I wasn't here with her. I came in 2020, so we had just gotten our power back. And Dr. Townsend had just become appointed as superintendent that December 2019. So that's, I
Is
can't.
that a yes or no question?
That's a no.
Is that a yes or no question, Ms. Gavin?
Yes, I'm wondering if it was Troon or Clark Hill, I'm not sure. I thought that they were the same, but I see that they're two different firms.
We've not
So I was
changed it
wondering
from
which
years.
firm it was that.
Yeah, Troon has, so
Or
Troon
not.
has been the district's attorney for at least a period, I think, of 8 to 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
They did a whole bunch. Okay.
That got rid of all us. That's what he want to say.
Yeah, they did, no. You don't even want to ask me about that, no.
Sorry.
They don't ask me about, I can't remember. Wasn't clear then.
Look straight
So this
ahead.
staff report one,
This is
according to my
actually,
sheet, that's all I have.
She's gonna make a staff report.
I don't even see a space on this tally.
can you
sheet.
create one? I'll create it on my notes. Okay, okay, Secretary Triplett, Liz is gonna take that vote.
And
Can you
she-
call?
Yeah,
The recording secretary is going to do it.
yes. I do know how to add another column, however.
But I do need for you to take the roll for the
Roll,
vote.
okay. President Robinson,
Yes,
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
No,
Secretary Triplett. Yes.
okay, and I just want to make sure. Did you get everybody?
Can I don't have anywhere to mark. I can't really see visually.
5-1.
I think he got everyone. I also want to notate that we did not approve the and any other law firm approved by the superintendent between the board's 2023 and 2024 organizational meetings. So Dr. Buss, if you find that there is a need for an alternative attorney, you would have to bring that before the board for approval.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Next, we have Auditor Revisited. I'll pass the floor to Dr. Buss.
I want to go back.
Yes, Madam President, on the audit revisit.
You were attempting to appoint, is it Maynard Custeri, CPA? And Ms. Gavin had asked for you to do some alternative research into different CPA firms. And so I'm wondering if you have an update on what you were able to accomplish with that?
Yes, ma'am. I did reach out to the firm, George Johnson and Company. I was able to reach out. I tried to reach out to the company that was referred to me. George Johnson, yes, ma'am, I thought it was. And I left a message with the aforementioned person. They have not returned the call as of yet. I've reached out twice. So I haven't gotten any additional information on that company. I do know that Maynard Custeri is the company that we've historically dealt with in the past. So, and that was the information. I know Trustee Gavin was still waiting on the minority development to get back with her. So I'll defer now to her to see if she has an update.
Do you have an update, Ms. Trustee Gavin?
yes, being that it was a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
And this took place on what, Tuesday night.
Can't hear you.
I've not yet received a phone call back from the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council. And I did receive a name, George Johnson and Company. And I'll follow up with them. I can follow up with them as well. But I was told that they do cover this type of CPA services.
Dr. Bus, when do we have to actually have an auditor in place? When the audits don't begin until what, October?
They began around June, actually, when we're closing out the year.
Would it be a problem for the board to review this item in February to give additional time, or should we proceed with the firm selected?
So what the finding was on the audit, on the previous audit, was that we weren't pulling down the monies in time. So what we're trying to do now is get a firm on board, make sure that we are in compliance.
So you'd like to proceed with your recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so at this particular time, Dr. Bus is recommending the approval of the firm that he originally suggested during our organizational meeting last week for the 2022-2023 fiscal school year, which is Maynard Casterson CPA. Is there a motion to approve?
I put a motion on the floor that we approve Dr. Butts' recommendation with the company that you just said, Maynard, I can't. pronounce
second
it.
that motion.
Casterson. The motion was made by trustee Bowens and supported by trustee Rocket Martin. Questions, comments, concerns?
I do have a concern.
You have the floor.
President Robinson. I believe that we have not given ourselves enough time to make sure that we are equitable in our hiring practices. And if this is not due until June, there should be somebody in the accounting office who knows how to pull down funds between the accounting person and the grant specialist. That's a process that they should already have in place, that they can handle it between now and our next meeting.
Okay, any additional comments from the board?
I'm just trying to figure out where this is on my sheet.
It
And
may
why-
not be on your sheet, because I don't think that in her creating the sheet, she remembered that the legal firms and auditor were votes that were tabled from the organizational meeting. So you may not have a section on your roll sheet for the vote.
No, I do not have, may
Oh.
not. I do not have. those
Okay.
areas.
President Robinson.
You have the floor, Treasurer Craig.
I just want to acknowledge Ms. Gavin's concern and, also, I think it was a confusion or a misspeak, because no auditor should be doing any work besides auditing, and so I don't think they're pulling down funds. I think that was a kind of a misspeak or, one of those things that just, was lumped together. However, to acknowledge her concerns, I'm not sure that we're in a rush. And I'm not even sure that business-wise, 7 days is even enough time to do due diligence with finding another company or even looking at options. And so, to be honest, if we're going to give it some time, is this something that we could table? I know it's a motion on the floor to approve it, but is this something that can be tabled to honor some of the concerns of the board? Or is this something that we are in a rush? It sounded like we're not in a rush, but then we're still going to just push it through. I am on the finance committee. I'm not aware of anything that would, cause any hurdles or problems. I mean, today is the 17th, but we're talking a couple of weeks. I'm not sure that this is something that, we need to be in a rush to do. I also understand that, this is a person that's auditing and not actually doing the work of a finance department. And so, I mean, is it worth holding off of? I'm not sure, but when the committee has some concerns, that might be, worth. And so it's kind of one of those things. I think we need to realign the purpose of what it is that we're doing it and why we're doing it.
All right, so is that, both of you guys have actually indicated that you're wondering if we could defer this to our next meeting. So is there an attempt to table? Or would either of you like to put a motion on the floor to table? I know, but given the amount of discussion taking place, they can put a motion on the floor to table during discussion. I'll allow you your comment if you're trying to make a comment before. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, we selected our superintendent to lead us into prosperity in a thriving district. And it's his recommendation. Back in the 90s, it was a song that was, "It's My Prerogative." And it's his prerogative, it's his recommendations. And I believe that it's naive for us to throw his recommendations out the window to be, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
I make a motion that we table this until February's meeting.
Support.
The motion was made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Gavin. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for tabling the auditor?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
No,
Treasurer Creighton.
Yes,
Trustee Rocket Martin,
No,
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes.
All right, motion to table passes, so it will be on the agenda of our next regular business meeting. Next, we have bylaws, revisions, updates. These are suggestions from Trustee Gavin. If you remember from the previous meeting, there was some notations that she had made per her review of the bylaws. You have a table in your packet of her review of the bylaws, her concerns and recommended actions that she'd like to make. So I am going to defer to Trustee Gavin. You have the floor to make your presentation. And then I'm wondering, are you wanting to just get through all of it and then receive feedback from the board once you review all updates?
What's
Or
your
suggestion?
preference? What is your preference, Madam?
It'd probably be
President?
quicker if you do it that way versus us getting feedback per
For each one?
topic. So if there's a particular topic or update that you want to comment on, just kind of save that till she's been able to go through. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not going to read the whole policy. I'm just going to go over the gist of what it is and what the concern or recommended action would be. I noticed in the bylaw about the address, it indicated that 636 Pipestone Road is the official address of Benton Harbor Area Schools. I thought it was 870 Colfax Avenue. If necessary, just asking that we update that. If I'm wrong, please forgive me on that one.
Correct.
The 1651 regarding the regular meetings. My concern is that public access, especially for those who have transportation and economic and health challenges, those people are not able to access the meetings. I do know that the Open Meetings Act requires board members to be present, but it does give much leeway for the public to be present. And so my request is that at least include a link to Benton Harbor Area Schools YouTube channel for live viewing whenever technically possible. Include a Google Calendar invitation to the board and community upon written request of the community. And also include a robocall to parents and a Facebook post. It's just making sure that communication is out there. I actually prefer that we also allow for Zoom opportunity for public comment. But of course, that would require a vote of the board. In regards to board powers 0122, it talks about the board authorities and Section E says the decision whether or not to permit authorization of charter schools. I just wasn't clear about that one. And just need some clarification, maybe from a lawyer or maybe from somebody on this board who may know.
So
What
I'll
is-
jump in just to,
Mhm.
I think it was 2020, it was before you all came on, that we actually did submit an application to the state of Michigan requesting that they not allow any additional charter schools to come into the city. I would have to double back and see if we ever received a response from them. This was in response to us learning that there was a new potential charter high school that was coming. I think it may have been too late to stop that one, but we were asking that they not allow any additional charters. So we'll have to circle back and see if they ever provided a response to that.
Okay,
Okay, I'll allow you to continue.
thank you so much for that. I wasn't clear on that. There was other information in board powers that concern me regarding the board being able to, I believe, close schools or things of that nature. And so what I would recommend is that we add a layer of oversight to include a public hearing before such a decision, and add that the board shall require advance notice, majority vote, and a public hearing in the event that the superintendent or school official proposes the elimination or closure of a course within the student course offerings, a school, or if a CTE program is to be recommended for elimination or closure. We know that it is very challenging to get classes and CTE programs back up after somebody has made a decision to eliminate the staff and get rid of the program. The other one is the student body representative. It says here that the board shall have 2 representatives from the high school student body selected by the superintendent and approved by the board. I was very happy to see Jamel here. What I would recommend is that perhaps to be more intentional, and not to remove him or anything right now, anything like that. I don't want to remove him, but to be more intentional to empower student voice and civic engagement. We make those seats available to the class president and the vice president, as well as provide leadership orientation and training opportunities. If they fail to attend, give them the responsibility to choose a representative. The superintendent can facilitate those preparations along with the student council advisor. I just believe that if we do that, we are giving our students a voice over who represents them, and it's their responsibility to stay in contact with the student body. The orientation, it talks about the orientation and, the preparation of the new board members receiving information no later than his or her first regular meeting. That's way too late. We've seen MASB recommendations in other school districts where they allow an orientation in November, so that those board members, so that when we come on, we have a better understanding of the information in the school district before we take our first meeting. Just hoping that this should be received between the second week in November and January 1st as the latest, along with the signed checklist indicating that the new members have received all of the information that is required in that section. The other issue is 0166, the agenda. The section that says individual board members may include items on the agenda upon the concurrence of the board president. I believe that this process lacks transparency, and it does not demonstrate an adequate balance of power to establish healthy synergy amongst the board members and community trust. So the recommended action is that we mimic the State Board of Education. They have an area on their agenda that says suggested agenda topics. So it's embedded within the agenda that we have that space to identify the items on the agenda that we would like to add for future meetings. It lets the community know what's important to us, how we feel about those items being added to the agenda or not, and it doesn't put all of that responsibility on the president to, refute it. The other one's just something to discuss. The agenda of the regular monthly meeting or special meeting shall be accompanied by a report from the superintendent on information related to the district with such recommendations that he shall make. I would love for us to just kind of discuss what are the data points specifically that we want required in the reporting. I hear a lot of people asking a lot of questions. If we could somehow get together and figure out what exactly do we want to hear from the superintendent in a report form, so that way we're getting the information we need in a way that's a fifth grader can understand. That's how I like to get information. And then public participation at the board meeting, 0167.3. I believe that the public feels when they come to the board meetings and they're not really acknowledged, they feel like their voices are not being heard. The State Board of Education has a item in which they are able to discuss as a board those items that are brought from the public at the table, somewhat, whether it's we're going to redirect this to this person or that person. You're discussing how you're going to address the public's concern right there so that we're actually letting them know that we're listening to them. And then 167.6, use of social media. It just says, as defined in bylaw 0100 shall not be used to conduct any form of Board of Education business. And I just thought that that was way too broad. What does that policy mean? I'm wondering, are they trying to say social media interactions as defined in bylaw 0100 when utilized by individual board members not formally meeting as a quorum shall not, let me see,
Because
shall not be considered formal Board of Education business, right? We can share Board of Education stuff on social media. I'm pretty sure we can, but it's not considered formal Board of Education business. I'm just hoping that that statement can be a little more specific. It feels like we just can't be on social media at all. And then legal counsel, I've already talked about this before. Can we amend this bylaw, add that legal counsel is present at each board meeting via in person or virtually? They can legally Zoom in to the meetings, even if we give a certain section of time in which they are, in the meetings that we think is most pertinent. And also identify more clarity as to how the lawyer can be contacted. What is the process? If we can outline that in the bylaw. And those are my concerns. Thank you for the space.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin, for your review of the bylaw. I don't know how I overlooked, or any of us overlooked, that 636 Pipestone Central Administration move. So I appreciate you for calling that to our attention. Any feedback currently? I do have a suggestion, but I'd like to allow for feedback from the table if anyone has any comments to make at this time.
Well, I have a question.
You have the floor.
So do we have this discussion before a motion is on the floor?
Yep, so we're just given, I didn't necessarily put a space on the agenda for us to vote on the updates this time,
Gotcha.
but I did want to allow her to present it to us and then have any conversation that we wanted to, if anyone had any comments.
Gotcha.
I know standard in our policy when we're making updates, even with Neola, we do more than one reading.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't do a formal vote for this time. And I was actually going to recommend that we do a special ad hoc committee to look at bylaw revisions. But I'll allow for your comment.
That was my suggestion. That was going to be my suggestion, but I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a board vote for today.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And I am, because it's Ms. Gavin suggested revisions. I was wondering if there's anyone that would like to be on this committee, you're more than welcome to have my position. But I'm wondering if Mr. Secretary Triplett, Ms. Gavin, and myself, if you all would mind us doubling as the policy committee.
I would love that.
Okay, Secretary Triplett, is there anyone else on the table that would like to be on the committee? Because you can have my position if you'd like to.
I'd like to be on it.
You like, okay, so we're creating, and the policy does give me an opportunity to establish an ad hoc committee. So I'm gonna establish it as Trustee Gavin, Secretary Triplett, and Trustee Rocket Martin. And you all are gonna review Ms. Gavin's suggested recommendation. Everyone has had an opportunity to have them reviewed. I'm gonna ask to have her present them. I'm gonna ask that you all actually go through and look at those policies in detail. The committee is also gonna take a deep dive into them as well.
and then bring them back before the board with the suggested recommendations in February, if you all have time to do that. And I'm pretty sure Liz can assist with the actual structuring of the policies or bylaws as they stand. Secretary Triplett, did you have a hand?
Yeah.
You have the floor.
You know, we do have an option to, as a board, to. We just chose those committees, but we can pick committees and other committees, as they said. Restructure our committees. But there was at one point a policy committee. And I think that's something that we should look at. I don't think in our policies that the wrong address should be. I don't know if you have to vote on the changing of the address, but I mean, it's not a vote. It's just something that should be
It's just
on that.
standard,
It's
yeah.
standard. When they move, it should be typed in who would be responsible for that to make sure that, okay, we haven't been in Pipestone in some time. So that's just yeah, it can be updated on the website when the address changes. That's not something that's voted.
It's just a standard.
Yeah. So whoever is responsible for that, I don't know who's over technology at this particular juncture. Because there was a transition.
Shots fired.
He is doing double duty until,
I'm exhausted.
yeah.
I'm tired of
Everyone's
Shots fired.
balancing multiple things right now.
technology.
Okay, so I am,
I'm tired. I'm just eating, snacking.
I know Trustee Buchanan is not here, but her spirit is still at the table. I see, I've been trying. It used to be on my right, now it's on my left with the rattling of this paper. Okay, so we have established a committee, a policy committee.
For ad hoc.
It's an ad hoc committee. And so per policy 0155 regarding committees, ad hoc committees may be created and changed at any time by the president or a majority of the members present at any meeting at which the need for a committee becomes evident. Members of the ad hoc committee shall serve until the committee is discharged. The superintendent shall serve as an ex officio member of each committee. You all can make a determination as well, and this is just me speaking as to who your chair of that committee will be. I am not putting a particular duration on the length of that committee. However, if you all decide that your work is done, you all can bring that before the board and we'll discharge you of your duties. All
Madam
right, you have the floor.
Is there anything that we could do seriously to consider? I mean, I'm quite sure, I know there is, but just take a look at developing a policy committee for the Board of Education.
Well, you can throw it on the table and make it a standard instead of it just being an ad hoc.
I
Would you
make a
like-
motion.
So I would need a motion to amend the agenda to allow for that vote, and then we'll actually take the vote.
I make a motion to amend the agenda with 2 modifications.
Go ahead. I think I might already know. what
Support.
it is. Go ahead.
I need a support.
What's the 2 modifications?
Oh, you need to know my 2 modifications before
Yes,
you.
I sure
support?
do.
Okay, I would like to make an amendment to a few amendments to the agenda. One is to add a new committee for policy. And 2, to postpone the policy reading 1
We so right here.
to that committee
Ooh, yes.
meeting.
We are here. Okay, so what,
Was that a support?
Support.
I don't know if the chair can support, Secretary Triplett support. So what has been moved by, a motion is on the floor currently by Treasurer Creighton to amend the agenda to allow for a vote of an establishment of a policy committee, as well as removing the first reading of our policies and allowing them to go before that committee before they come before the board. And that motion was made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Secretary Triplett. Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, yes.
Is that a
Treasurer-
yes or no?
I have no decision on that. Present, I can vote present.
It's recorded as a yes.
Go ahead, Secretary Triplett.
Yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, so we have voted to amend the agenda. Now we need to actually take the vote for the establishment of the committee. Is there a motion on the floor?
I make a motion to establish a policy committee.
Is there a second or support?
So move.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Secretary Triplett. Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so the individuals, as a reminder, that have been appointed to the policy committee are trustee Rocket Martin, Secretary Triplett, and trustee Gavin.
No. That was for ad hoc.
Oh, you were,
I will-
okay.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
If you prefer,
No, I will do it.
Okay.
I will do it.
Okay.
I will work. Yeah, I will do it.
So again, the members of the policy committee are trustee Rocket Martin, Secretary Triplett, and trustee Gavin. As the president, I will serve as an alternate.
Yep.
If you all have anyone who's unable to attend.
Okay.
I won't be there every month, but someone needs me to step in, I'll be more than welcome to do that. So it's
Yes.
technically 3 members, and as president, I'll be a backup if needed. All right, so we're gonna proceed. Next, we have some very exciting things. Thank you all for the business that has been conducted. We have Dr. Butts that is going to make his presentation regarding the community bus launch. Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Madam President. As we were told back in September, if I'm not mistaken, we were granted and approved a grant from Whirlpool for a community bus. I presented it to the board. This bus is to give information. First of all, this bus is to break the barrier of communication between the school and the community. I also get input from community as to things that they need and for partnerships to be established to take things to our community for educational purposes. So with that being said, we were able to purchase a small bus. The bus has been outfitted with new computers, a monitor, and pretty much a mobile lab. It is handicap accessible, and it is outside for your preview. Today, we did a press release. We had over 6 news outlets here. They were supposed to return this evening. One did return, but I think our board meeting superseded their time.
Okay.
So I would like the board at this time, if we can, to go out and take a look at our new community roar bus.
I took a picture with it.
Okay, so we are going to take a brief recess from the table. We're taking a trip outside to review the bus while we're all together. We do invite the public to join us. If you haven't had an opportunity to see it, you're more than welcome to come outside. We're gonna do this quick, allow him to give us a tour. Brief recess. We are returning from recess at
7:31.
7:31 PM. We are currently with the update to the agenda. We are at School Board Appreciation Month. Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Madam President. This will be short for this, at this board meeting. And I wanted to make sure our last meeting, we did one small gift, a token for board appreciation. With this gift, it has a theme that was recurring earlier in the meeting from the public comment and from one of our trustees, which is growing together. So these flowers represent us growing together as a board. And as we grow, some things will fall off, some things will grow and continue to grow. So as a board, as a community, as a district, some of the things we need to let go and some of the things we need to grow. So with this, I present to our board tonight as we growing together as a community and as a board. Also, at your tables, you should find a pendant. I think all of you may have them on right now. Showing our continuity and our continuous efforts to move our district forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right, next we have the strategic plan update.
As far as the strategic plan update, we are, now that we have 3 chiefs instead of 2, we'll be working on our metrics. as to measure our growth points moving forward. Also, they will be tied to the strategic plan, this partnership agreement, pardon me. The partnership agreement as we move forward, which will be tied directly to our strategic plan. So at this time, we are in the process of developing our metrics as we move forward.
Thank you so much. I look forward to receiving those. Secretary Triplett.
So with the partnership agreement and what have you, I haven't heard anything from you all, the central administration, since it's been announced that that we were going into this agreement.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I was a little bit confused as to, was this something that was the state that we had no choice?
Right.
And I'm a little bit concerned about who is going up and representing when these decisions are made. You know, when they're coming down from the state. I've sat here as a member of the Board of Education, and people have visited our district from the state, and we did not know that they were going to even be on the ground. I think that it is important, you know, if nothing else, for our president. When people come from the state, this is a very serious topic, and it should not be one individual. I don't think that anybody should come to this district from the state, and our president of the Board of Education is not made aware of this, and this stuff needs to be sent out. We need to know, because we have been fighting for our district, and we have had people who have gone up, quote unquote, representing us, and that are gone now. You know, so that's something, when I hear this about the strategic plan and this partnership, I haven't heard anything else. And that's very, very, very concerning to me, Madam President. We do have a president of the Board of Education, and any interactions with the state, the president need to be debriefed and briefed prior to.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if I may respond just very quickly.
You
ma'am.
have the floor.
Thank you. I have been keeping Madam President up to date, and I will be giving you all a general, not a general, but a comprehensive, overview of the partnership agreement. I also have in the makes a town hall forum, a virtual town hall forum to give our community an update on the partnership agreement as well, because there have been some questions and some concerns. And I have those. So what I had to do first was meet with the state and our stakeholders, not the public stakeholders, but who all were involved, to see what the partnership agreement was. We have received the template. I will be sending it out as to what it is and how we plan on moving forward. But the board president will be playing a key role in that, in those decision-making processes.
So
And I believe you, so far from the updates you've given me, you attended an initial orientation in December.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you had a follow-up meeting with our assigned representative just for clarifications that you needed, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And
And those are the only two interactions that you've had thus far?
yes, ma'am. And we have an additional one that's coming up on the 24th for additional information. So that way all questions and concerns are answered, addressed and or answered. And that's when I'll be giving my comprehensive report to the board, to you and to the board.
All right, I believe trustee Bowens had a question.
I'm glad to hear something. I do want to stress this. Communication is key. And I didn't even know, we didn't know you guys were even meeting or having communication. I've been wondering and waiting, when is the state going to come in and meet with us or anything? So if we can keep that in mind as much as possible, to communicate as much as possible about this.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome. Trustee Gavin.
So I guess my concern or my question is, I know that you received the partnership agreement template. In terms of filling out that template and putting our information in there and, what we are willing to do and all of that, will there be a committee put together who will decide what goes in that template? How will you decide what goes in that template?
So the information that I received from the state, it will be the leadership team here, along with the board president, that will decide what will go into the agreement, all the parameters in the agreement, what our corrective actions are for the agreement. And the entire document will be guided by our MyKIP, which is our district-wide school improvement plan. Our data that we are using for our metrics and our student achievement. So the things that we already have in place will be the things that will be included in the agreement. So the agreement will totally be driven by Benton Harbor area schools and unique to this school district. It will not mirror anything. So when RISA come in as a partner, they are only coming in as a support, not as a determining factor as to what we put in. So anything that we put in, along with Madam President and discussion with the board and the school leadership, we will decide what is in. We will determine what our course of action is, and we will determine what our recourse action is if we don't see the improvement that we need at the 18-month period that they are requesting an update. Whenever they come into the district, Madam President will be one of the, they will be coming twice a month. Madam President will be at one of those meetings when they come. When they come visit the school district, they will not be talking with anyone at the school, only to observe. And then when they come back, they will discuss with Madam President, myself, and we will then disseminate the information to the board as to moving forward.
So no community members will be involved.
Not in the development, but in the implementation. The board and the school leadership will be in the development.
Secretary Triplett.
It is very important, and when you say Barry and Risa, what we just got out of with Barry and Risa, and what we just experienced with Barry and Risa. And I wanted to be perfectly clear, because it's imperative that our interim superintendent and anybody else have an historical background on those relationships. Right. It's a must. And so we're going to be here. We're going to be here for the next 6 years, this Board of Education. We have 2 years on our term, the senior board members, and we just have new board members with 4 years. And so it's something, and the president is our president. But we are the Board of Education, and the president should not be the only person that get this information. All of us are equal. And our president has done an exceptional job in displaying it in that manner. But the president of this Board of Education cannot be the only person that is informed of what's happening. As you say, these plants and flowers are growing, and we're moving in a different direction, in a completely different direction. We live in a democracy. We do not live in a dictatorship. And so if it's privy to her, it's privy to me. And it's privy to everybody that's on this board. And so I don't know what this process is, but when she know, we needed to. Period.
So I just want you all to know that I did ask Dr. Buss if he was going to be providing an update in the January meeting about the status of the partnership. And the clarification that he provided was that he wanted to go to the meeting on the 24th to have a full understanding of things before presenting it to you all. So I wanted to make sure that you all don't think that it was an oversight on his part. He did send out some previous information to the board that Ms. Gavin and Ms. Doyle may not have gotten because it was sent out in December. So if they haven't received that information, Dr. Buss, if you could essentially forward that email to them. And then the orientation that you attended, I believe the plan was for you to email that slideshow out to the board so that they can be up to date on that same information as well. I'm going to also ask that, because this is an education related factor, if this could be a standing point on the curriculum committee's agenda, just so we can make sure that we know where things stand with
Right.
the partnership as relates to the district as well. All right, so with the amendment that we made to the agenda, we removed the policy first of 2 readings until the policy committee can review it. I just wanted to point out as well and make one change. Previously, I had asked that the disciplinary committee review policies 5605, 5610, and 5611. With the establishment of the policy committee that came later, I'm asking that the actual policy committee review that. The only difference is it wouldn't be Ms. Doyle reviewing it. It would be trustee Rocket Martin, secretary Triplett, and trustee Gavin. So in your review of the policy revisions suggested by Ms. Gavin, as well as the first set of Neola policies, I also ask that you review 5605, 5610, and 5611 regarding the disciplinary process and bring those updates or any suggested amendments back to the board in February. Next on the agenda, we have our curriculum updates. And I am going to ask, because I know my board, I know you all very well. And so this is a question to our chief of academics, Ms. Waddell. Your Department of Teaching and Learning updates, the CFA window 1 through 4 ELA and the CFA window 1 through 4 math data. Is this information that is privy for us to receive right now, or would it be okay if those 3 updates are provided to curriculum this month first and then presented to the board in February? Or would you prefer to present them currently?
In my opinion, I like to be transparent about what's happening academically, so I think the sooner the better.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm going to allow you to proceed with the agenda as it stands. So the first thing that you have on the agenda is the field trip request. That also has staff report T1 that requires a vote, but I'll allow you to present the field trip request form with details, and then we'll go into the actual resolution.
Okay, thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome.
Okay, the first thing I'm going over are the details to a field trip request that we are asking for the Benton Harbor High School seniors that are in our senior project course, along with 6 juniors that we would like to include in this field trip to a student leadership conference. The field trip is supposed to be held on February 25th through the 27th. Again, it'll be a majority, a group of seniors, and we are going to add some juniors to the trip as well. Our supervising teacher will be T. James, our graduation advisor at the high school. The destination is the MASC, MAHS, which is our Honor Society and Student Councils, Michigan Student Leadership Conference that will be held in, and I'll keep going. Let me just keep going through. I'll get to that in just a minute. Our number of passengers, again, will be 25 students and 2 adults. This falls in line with our strategic plan when it comes to academics and learning environment. Benton Harbor Area Schools believes in providing a safe environment that ensures physical, emotional, and mental well-being for every person. Benton Harbor Area Schools ensures that student education and learning will reflect integrity and ethics. Benton Harbor Area Schools has identified a cohort of seniors / juniors to attend the conference to gain skills needed to create change in their school and implement the steps needed for others to put ideas into action within their own building to fulfill the beliefs of the Benton Harbor Area School during the 2nd semester of the 22-23 school year. In describing the instructional activities and objectives of the trip, the State Leadership Conference is again, Michigan Association Student Council and Michigan Association Honor Society, largest, most dedicated student program of the year. This 3-day event features student showcase presentations, Michigan Student Voice competitions, structured activities, awards, powerful keynote speakers, student mixers, celebrations, and more. Topics of the program range from peer mentor groups, anti-bullying programs, community service projects, and much more. After the field trip, the assessment will be that the students will conduct a needs assessment of the Benton Harbor High School. Upon completion of the needs assessments, the students will analyze the data to identify needs for the high school and the cohort will create change in their school around that needs assessment for the remainder of this semester. In addition to this, just to add it, and I forgot to say this at the beginning, this cohort of students currently in their senior project course are doing a book study on the 7 effective habits of a highly effective teen. That book study will lead up to this conference. They'll go to this conference, they'll come back and they'll make a change in their own school. Again, the dates are the 25th through the 27th. It is over a weekend. The plan is to leave at 1 p.m. I apologize. Get picked up at 1 p.m., get to our 11:30 departure time, leaving destination time, 11:30, get to our location in Grand Rapids at the Grand Plaza Hotel, Amway, and then return back again on that Monday. We will need 1 bus. The cost of that bus is $257.40. Funding will come from our 31A. And again, the cost for registration is $249 per person. So approximate costs are $6,225. Again, 31A. And that is the information on the trip.
I make a motion to approve.
I didn't read the staff report yet, and I didn't know if you had questions first. So
We
yeah,
gotta
I
make
just
the
didn't
motion
know.
first. We gotta make the motion
Sorry.
first.
Okay.
Go ahead and present your staff report.
Okay. So, okay. Thank you. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Staff report. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Request for overnight field trip for students at Benton Harbor High School, January 17th, 2023. The board shall approve field trips and other district-sponsored trips, which are planned to keep students out of the district overnight or longer or out of the state. Facts and analysis, the Benton Harbor High School staff and Department of Teaching and Learning are requesting to take their students to the 2023 Student Leadership State Conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the Amway Grand Plaza. The trip is scheduled for February 25th through the 27th, 2023. This is an overnight trip where the students will join other students across the state to learn about the aspects of leadership. It is anticipated that 23 students and 2 chaperones will attend. The fees for the 2023 Student Leadership Conference will be funded by the 31A grant. Policy reference number 2340 field and other district-sponsored trips. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the field trip to the 2023 Student Leadership State Conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve staff report T1?
So moved.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Gavin. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question. I know in the past that for every 10 students, there should be a chaperone. I don't know if that has changed. That was the policy, for sure. I see that Mr. James is a teacher representative chaperone. Are there any female students going? And if so, do we have a female chaperone that would be going with our girl?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Also, do we have a student council at Benton Harbor High School?
From my knowledge, yes.
And it was another note that I had here. Do we have an active, is the Jane Addams chapter of the National Honor Society still in existence?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay, because when I look at the things where these students that are going on this trip, these are something that's very concerning to me when our students were in the Mr. and Miss Benton Harbor contest, and they were putting down their school activities and organizations or what have you. They didn't have, it was very limited. When, there's a timeline when students are inducted into the National Honor Society. It was reestablished a year or 2 ago. What role is the counselors playing in anything? Because our kids are gonna go up here with students who have a National Honor Society. We have a National Honor Society chapter and charter here. So I don't understand why, if we have a top 10, why we don't have a National Honor Society, or the chief academic officer is not clear on whether we have one or not, and whether or not we have a student council. We're going on this trip. So these are just thoughts that's going through my mind. If any female students are going, I hope that we make sure that there are female chaperones, or there is a female chaperone, because our girls should not travel out of town with men.
In response, Laura Brimmer is going as the female chaperone. And this student leadership conference is not just for students in honor societies and student council, and they say that clearly on their website. It's for any student that we would like to build their leadership skills in. We have a cohort of seniors that have earned lots of credits, and they are in a senior project course. And this is what we did to try to build up their leadership, because we see leaders in all of our students and not just those that are in honor
I
societies
understand
or student
exactly.
councils.
I understand all of that. Those terms came out in your description, and I asked the question, do we have a National Honor Society? And do we have a student council? I'm quite sure those aren't the only students that can represent the school. I'm very aware of that fact. And I know it's seniors. Another question that I have, if this is something that we want to continue to do with our students, why it would be something to look at in the future, to start with our juniors and having more of our juniors than our sophomores going, so that it can strengthen them. And by the time they reach their senior year, you know, this is new. It's a senior project class and what have you, I understand, but if you all would take into consideration so that we can have some sustainability and have some representation, and our students are familiar, to just say we got a checklist that we're doing this. So again, I'm aware and I'm clear of the questions that I'm asking.
The intent was to include 6 juniors so that we're building that pipeline.
So that's the intent. So you will have 6 juniors.
Yes, 6 juniors
All right,
will
thank
be
you.
included.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for you. How are student representatives for the board? Are they being included in this trip?
Again, right now, we had the cohort of seniors that were in the senior project course. We had to think quick about building a curriculum for that course. And so we started with the book study, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, that would lead them going to this conference, that would lead them back to do something for our school. That was the plan for right now. It's new to us this year, at least it's new to me. We can continue to build on that as years pass, but this is what we're doing moving forward for that group of students that are in the senior project course.
Thank you. I just didn't know whether or not our student reps are in that project course.
I can look into that.
I'm not sure if they're juniors or seniors. They're
That was
seniors.
He's senior. the
He's
one-
a senior. So they might actually be a part of it. So that was just me being curious as to whether or not the lead up question, and the purpose of me asking is that I think it would be awesome if the board could get the feedback of the needs assessment that they create. And being that Jamel is a student representative, whether he participates in that or not, he would be excellent in actually providing that update to the board of the outcome of that needs assessment that they do. Whether that's in February or March, whenever that's ready.
Got it.
All right, trustee Bowens.
I was just curious, so who's the student, this is the student council, correct?
No,
The course, okay. But I'm confused because I'm like, but this is something for state student councils and honor society.
in addition to other students as well.
So my question is, our seniors are getting ready to leave, and I understand you guys said it was quick and everything. Like Mr. Triplett said, it would have been, to me, more logical and common sense to include
Juniors and seniors. They got
sophomores and juniors.
Right now, we
juniors.
started with juniors.
Right, I understand what you're starting with. What I'm stating is my opinion on what it would have been inclusive and knowledgeable to include. But that's it, thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to notate, common sense may not have been the best.
Oh, I'm sorry, like, it was no.
Yeah, I know. Just don't want no email.
President, trustee Bevins.
You have the floor.
I want to say that this sounds very intentional. I love the fact that it's project-based. It feels like a culminating project in which they are engrossed in the material, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. When I was an Inroads intern, soon as we got that job at Whirlpool, we had to read, we had to do a workshop on that. So very, very powerful reading. And then on top of that, they have to take that information and come back and make some recommended changes within their community. So I love that this project is intentional. I love that you have, I love the questions that came out that brought out that some juniors will be involved as well, and that they're gonna be getting that leadership skills and be able to network with other youth leaders from all over. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm glad and I support this.
All right, if there,
I just have one more question. Is there a limit on the
I'm
number of
sorry,
students? Oh, I'm sorry.
Secretary Triplett, you've had your one time.
I have a question. I have a
For
question.
the 2 minutes, but I didn't say I'm gonna just speak one time. I'm not
that
gonna
was
just
the-
speak one time.
That was the,
Hey,
that was the standard vote per topic.
per
Madam
topic.
President, I have a question.
You have the floor.
Is there a cap or limit on the amount of students that can attend this field trip?
I think currently, because of our CFO situation, we're being very careful with how we spend money.
Okay.
So again, the intent was to find a project for the senior project course. We're starting with those students. We'll assess as it was already requested, and we'll adjust as needed in the future. But right now, I know I'm being,
It's a class trip, basically, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
but as far as spending a lot of money, I know me and Christy are just, and Dr. Butts, we're just trying to be careful
Mhm.
about how much we're spending.
Madam President, can I make a comment?
Mhm.
Okay, I was just gonna say, it sounds like that this is a class field trip. And as a former teacher, I think we have to stay focused on what the intent behind it is. And so at this time, I would like to call for the vote.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for there is a phone
It's
ringing
Liz's
to my
phone.
left.
It's Liz's phone. It's a flip phone.
Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
President Robinson,
Absolutely, yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, absolutely yes. Treasurer Creighton,
I don't have an adjective, yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. I'm excited to see the outcome in the assessment that they do. You can continue with your Department of Teaching and Learning update.
Thank you for your support for that. Just wanted to keep you abreast. First thing I wanted to speak to that's not on this document are those science courses that our student rep brought up earlier in our meeting this afternoon. Yes, we started the school year off with a lack of science teachers at our high school, so we had to be strategic with what we were going to do to provide coursework so they could earn credits. That's where MVU was put into place. So our students are currently taking their science courses through MVU. However, during the second semester, we have been fortunate to have some of our staffing return or have some edu staff. So we will only have one of our courses after January 20th in science that will be virtual, with one of our return of our teachers, and then with a teacher already that we had. 2 out of 3 of the courses will no longer be through MVU. But because we did not have an actual teacher to teach the course to start the year, we had to figure something out. So that's why MVU was used, just to clarify that.
Thank you for the clarification.
And then just to keep you abreast, Beyond Basics again is our Tier 3 literacy program at our upper elementary and our middle school. We were scheduled to start those interventions this week. I did touch bases with principals. They weren't there today, but they should be starting this week. So I'll keep up with that to make sure that we get that started. Last Friday, we had our reading mastery training. Again, that's another Tier 3 intervention program for our lower elementary level. Again, intensive training was provided so that we can roll out reading mastery at MLK with fidelity. Before our holiday break, I think you all were aware of the Books and Blanket literacy event that we did. K to 8th grade students received a blanket, hot cocoa, and a book prior to break. And then our 9th through 12th graders received a hat, cocoa, and a candy cane prior to break. But the intent was to promote literacy. And then we are moving forward with our textbook adoption. Our first meeting will be the 23rd. Teachers will get into the space, everybody that's on the committee, and start reviewing materials so that we can move forward with adopting textbooks for next school year. That's all for
right.
those updates.
Thank you. I'm gonna allow, you have a question?
Yes.
You have the floor.
Books and a Blanket literacy event. There was nothing that you guys did to measure, or I know you guys gave like the hats, the cocoa. Back in my day, we had accelerated reader or something. How did you guys measure if the kids even, took the book home
Right.
and read it?
I
or
understand
just-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't have a metrics in place to measure if they took it home and actually read it. We are just trying to promote literacy by giving out books, making it fun, holiday break, it's a gift. I think the main intent was to promote the literacy, but we did not take in data on who's actually reading. But that is something we can consider to
I was-
discuss. Yeah.
I was gonna say back, I don't know if they still do it, but I think most of us remember the Book It program or.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Pizza Hut.
Stuff like that to increase the
Mhm.
engagement and
Right.
everything. So-
Right. And that's actually a good, I like that idea, actually.
All right, if there's no other questions, we'll proceed with the
Okay.
1 through 4 ELA data.
Again, I'm trying in the honor of transparency, just make sure that we're aware of how our students are performing. We are in testing season. It gets busy. M-STEP is coming up in a couple of months. Students are taking NWEA this week. CFAs, Ames Web, this is testing season, but I want to make sure we're clear on how our students are performing every 4 weeks. So that we're not surprised on how they'll perform on state assessments. So the first document that you see is our language arts data. I won't go over every single grade level, but you can see from window 1 to window 4 how students are performing over time. Shout out to DEC. Kinders are rocking it over there. They're mastering the content. A majority of them are mastering most of the content the first time around. So that's wonderful percent mastery that we're seeing over at DEC. But as you scroll through, you can see that more of our areas of concern are everywhere, but our high needs are middle and high school. And so we are working closely with both principals to ensure that they have the supports they need so that their culture and climate is set so that students can achieve academically. But we do have some concerns at the middle and high school. I mean, students are just simply not mastering content, a lot of it in one 4-week session. So that is a concern. What questions do you have around language arts? I also have math, but I know that there's probably some questions out there. And I can speak more specific as to what those concerns or those barriers are that are getting in the way if you need me to.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
it's culture and climate. It's discipline, it's intentional strategic planning of our support staff and how we use them in our hallways to make sure students are in class. It's how we respond to discipline because the majority of the discipline issues are low-level behaviors. So how do we shape students' behaviors to get them to do what we need them to do? But what we're finding and just talking with principals and the things that are getting in the way of the middle and the high school is its culture and climate. And so thankfully we got another chief here, so I can help me do this work. But over holiday break, we did provide additional therapeutic crisis intervention training for our youth advocates, our security staff at the middle and high school, trying to get them trained. We actually are doing a walkthrough tomorrow through the high school and the middle school to collect data. And then we're going to use that data to come up with a more intentional plan for our support staff at the middle and high school to try to get a grasp of what's happening in the culture and climate at those 2 buildings. But culture and climate discipline is getting in the way of students achieving at middle and the high school.
So I have a question for you. Have we had a staff meeting that was specifically centered on that particular issue, the culture and climate and how it impacts student achievement?
Yes, building principals. I know Principal Wright has been working diligently with her staff. Principal Roseberg, speaks with his staff often. We do DPPD days. I've talked about suspension data. Actually, our last one, I brought it up. We talked about this. Dr. Burnick also does training in these spaces. That's his role, is to go to the buildings and support staff and support teachers. So there's a lot of supports there. But I think the support is really needed in the creation of an intentional plan on how we use our support staff. Right now, our high school is sitting at about, 13, 14, Mrs. Gale, support staff. It's pretty high. The ratio is 1 to 35 students. That's not normal. Usually it's 1 to like 100, 200 students that an administrative team has to, that's the support that's needed to support the students. Our ratio is smaller here. So we just have to be more strategic with how we're using people, how we're placing people, what the hot spots are in the building, just things like that. So we are going to together, work with the middle and the high school and trying to be intentional about what they're doing with their support staff to get the culture and climate in check.
So we're gonna go Bowens and then Treasurer Craig.
I have a question too. Okay, so I understand you're saying culture and climate, but I also understand, like, one teacher was telling me the first 2 months of the year, of the school year, she spent, doing culture and climate. You can't have your cell phone in here and all of that. Do you think, and this is probably off topic, like a balanced year? Would,
Oh, balanced calendar?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I've always been in favor of balanced calendar, but that might be my own personal opinion because I know it's costly.
but it would,
Yeah.
like, with studies like this, you're spending your first 2 weeks in August and September, but by October, November, you're able to really get them all up. Am I making sense with that or no?
I think that you can teach culture and climate year long. It's not just a first 2 week thing. It's every day, so the whole mindset that we teach kids how to behave the first 2 weeks, then we're done.
Well,
No.
I'm not saying like teaching
Okay.
them, academically. She says she's spending so much time trying to get them caught up.
Mhm.
Whereas if we did a balanced calendar.
Oh, yeah, but balanced calendar seems to be more time on task. And I'd have to look, it's been a while since I've researched balanced calendar. It has been a few years, but from what I remember, it seems like we're in school more often, or the way that it's balanced in the calendar, it just seemed like we would see the students more, and that might be helpful. But it's also important that teachers have classroom management, buildings have building management, consequences, things are put into place to help shape students' behavior for what we want them to do in our classrooms as well.
So when you say teacher management, is it, I've been saying this and passionate about it, that we're hiring teachers to fill a number, and I'm not throwing our teachers under the bus, some of them just can't deal with our culture and our students.
We just need more support, more
More
training,
support.
exactly. And the core instructional leader is the building principal at every building. We do our instructional, teaching and guidance through our DPPD days. We'll come out to meetings if we're called on as far as the teaching and learning department. But the first line of instructional leadership comes from that building principal. And those are conversations that I've had with the building principals. So if that's the case, you have a teacher that's struggling, well, I'm the building leader. How am I supporting that teacher and giving them the supports they need so they are successful in their classroom? So they're getting training from us. Doesn't happen as often as it could happen, though, if it's coming from that building leader.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Treasurer Creighton.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to say that I appreciate this. I really do. And I guess I'm looking at this from a different standpoint because I'm always thinking about money. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that was one of the things that we were saying, is that at what point do we right size? And at what point are we just hiring people without being intentional? And so a few things from a policy and a board standpoint, my initial question was, what support is needed from the board level? That was my initial question. But then when you kind of started to talk and answer some of the other questions, I started to think about some creative ideas or suggestions that I might have, which is simply, like you said, do you need this, 35-to-1 ratio, not trying to take anyone's job, but really, whose job is it from an instructional standpoint? I think it's great that you're looking at and you're aware of the data, but I think from a student services superintendent standpoint, who is now going to be, so this is a question for Dr. Butts, not necessarily for you to answer right now, but as we are getting people back into position and you guys are getting your footing and you filling, positions now, do we need more people or do we need a plan? And it sounds like we have this strategic plan. So what are we doing to update these things to be intentional? And then the other thing is, like I said, from a community standpoint, I was in a sorority meeting and we were actually talking about, ways to get involved. And so then I just happened to look at, two people that's in the community that are working. And I know one with a dance program and works at the Boys and Girls Club. So I just kind of started all my little, not trying to put anybody on the spot. And then also Miguel, who's the leader of the summer youth program. And so, and I don't know the other gentleman, I'm sorry, but even with Reverend Bullocks and their church and all their community outreach. I wonder, you know, if there are opportunities. I remember working for Mr. Triplett at Morgan. I know I'm running out of time. Oh, you just start the timer, good. But when I worked for Mr. Triplett, we did have a program at the school. Bonita Mitchell, she did some things that helped with those tier 2, tier 3 behaviors. And actually, that was the position I worked in. I worked in student services. And so I'm just thinking like, you know, is there a way that now we have people, we have a bus, we have money, we have resources, we have ideas, you know, what can we do from an advisory standpoint, Ms. Gavin, right? Because when we worked in CTE as teachers, we had an advisory committee. So is there something that Chief Corson now can put together, you know, to get board support? But if it's an initiative that's being done to help with these tier 2, tier 3 behaviors, that'll help with academics, and then we can continue to do enrollment, recruitment, because I know some of the school of choice parents, that's our number one concern right now is the environment, right? And so I feel like, you know, if my child can learn, he can learn anything because he knows how to learn, but the environment is what he's actually worried about, you know, and when he's doing activities in Ben Harbor, it's not about anything but the environment and the bullying and the social, emotional, you know, skill set of some of his peers. And so I think that this is conversations that I like to hear, and we definitely can work together to put some things in place to kind of do that. And so, you know, what are some creative things that you can do or you guys can do to get the board and also the community involved, you know, and then let us know what board support you need to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Trustee Rockett Martin.
Yes, my question is kind of on the same line as with working with the community. However, I'd like to go a little bit deeper right into the homes of the parents. How much of this information, the training information, actually gets back? Or did you touch bases with the families, the actual parents, not through the other channels, but just really going from school to parent? You know, I know that in past times, I know I've done like parent workshops where they actually come in, and this is the discipline that we're talking about, and this is the behavior we are requiring of our students, and these are the consequences if that behavior is not followed, you know, where you really just hit the meat of it. And the other thing is, I think with the community bus that Dr. Bus has is certainly a good way of training parents or contacting parents, or reaching out to parents to know, you know, what we expect from our students that attend Benton Harbor area schools. And I think that's important. And it also will help to, I don't want to say train the parents, but it'll also give the parents the insight to know this is the kind of behavior we want our students to have. You know, what you do out there is different from what you bring to school, you know. So, yeah, but I think that's an avenue, couple of avenues that we can look at to make sure that the parents do understand.
Secretary Triplett.
I would like to say, you know, I am just so sick of this information with these excuses. And it's almost like Benton Harbor area schools is a prison. You know, like you said, I think the number of the student support services ratio is very, very critical. I also think when we select these people to be in these positions, that we have selected people from the beginning. We already knew that in 3 months they were going to be gone. We've had people from Benton Harbor who have been overlooked in these positions. When I look across here, and I've discussed this with the superintendent, and I look at everybody that's in this administrative team, I see nothing from Benton Harbor, period. I teach right now today in a school district that looks very similar to ours. I went into that school district and I went into those classrooms, and those students look just like ours, and they were all over the place. And all of this, you know, this record where we don't want to have suspensions, we must suspend those students who are creating havoc in this school. We cannot have these falsified records when students are in violation. Their discipline, if this action takes place, This is so many days, that is so many days. Those students, never had I been cursed and called out of my name the way in which I was when I stepped into this place and into this space. You come into that environment now because there were expectations. Students were sent home repeatedly. And that class, all 5 of those classes, all 5 of them have changed tremendously. Our teachers are in these places and space. Somebody is saying that they cannot suspend these kids. If our principals are in need, what kind of support from the central administration staff do you have for our principals? That's the deal. And that's the information that I want to see. What do we have in place for our principals? What kind of support the central administration that we are paying almost $1.5 million? What do y'all have in place to support your principal? Instead of talking about what they're not doing, what are you doing? I'm not asking for a response. I'm just putting this out as something to be considered. And I have discussed this with the superintendent. We can't just take teachers and substitute teachers and throw them in these spaces and places without any support and expect things to go in the right direction. Our teachers are crying for help. Our students are being returned that have cursed them out, all of these types of things. That stuff cannot be tolerated in the school district. And so when we look at these types of things, we have to look at it totally of what it is that, we are expecting. And how are we really supporting? Sitting in a position, in a new position. No, just looking at, I know administrators are busy, but if I reflect back, there were times when substitute teachers were in the building. I never got an opportunity to even go see because I was so busy with paperwork and all of these other type of things. I didn't even get an opportunity to get in there to even see the visiting teachers. So this is what I'm going to be looking and asking for. If we have this kind of situation going on in our school, then I want to see the plan of action from central administration, from the top all the way down. What are you doing to support our principal? If it don't apply, let it fly. Because if they are not, evidently, something is not in place. Because this stuff keeps coming and it looks the same to me.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. We're gonna proceed with Trustee Gavin.
I'll be brief. I appreciate the transparency. It's not easy to share news like this. I am interested in knowing what is the protocol for board members to do walkthroughs. I'm very interested in conducting a walkthrough. And I'm also interested, if possible, in viewing the disciplinary trends on Power School to find out what are the reoccurring issues and what are the policies that are related to those issues as well.
So as it relates to the walkthroughs, you and Doyle need a walkthrough, and myself and Creighton never actually got one. So we can coordinate. I think we're the only 2 people.
I haven't had a walkthrough this year.
You didn't go, so did you guys just not go?
Well, can I?
Well, we can come,
I'll
I'll
make a
circle
motion
back.
that you
Yeah.
playing, no, okay.
I will circle back to that via email. There was some dates and times that were scheduled. I thought that it was myself and Creighton were the only ones. I think that was your specific request for abandoned buildings though.
Okay.
So we'll get a tour scheduled for buildings that are in session. We're gonna proceed and allow Ms. Batiste Waddell to present the math data, which I know is on the other side of the English, but I'll pass the floor to her. One thing that I want to say is that I value and sincerely appreciate everyone's comments and feedback provided. But I want you all to reflect on the fact that we are often concerned with how long the meetings go. And I want to make sure you all know that if we don't have quick and concise comments, that's part of what extends the meeting. So I am doing my best to move us forward, and I'm going to ask that each of you do as well. Go ahead.
So again, I won't go over this in detail, but we definitely are performing better in mathematics than we are in ELA. Again, you can look across what's happened over the first semester, how the numbers are changing, where the areas of concerns are. And again, middle and high school, fourth grade, just depends on where you're looking. Definitely areas of concern. Any questions on mathematics?
I look forward to digging more into this in committee. I'm really excited to be on curriculum. I don't know about anybody else. I am.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we're gonna proceed with our agenda. Next up, we have coming to the stage all the way live. Mr. Corson is gonna be providing his first student support services update to the Board of Education. You have the floor.
Thank you, Board of Education. So tonight's agenda will have two quick updates, and then you'll have a more extensive student support service update at your next board meeting, as I understand the scope and responsibility of the role and make sure that I have my first meetings with all of the direct reports. What you have before you is your facilities update, and I'm going to make that quick, but I do want to point out, I know that Joe Bullocks has already gotten many accolades, but I just want to point out, we did have a issue over the winter break in which we had issues with our boilers, then the pipes froze. If, as you go through that report, you will see images of the ramifications of that issue. We were able to fix that issue, return the offices and the affected areas back to what I would consider a better state than what they were even before, and make sure that it was ready prior to students coming back to learn. So I know that is a Herculean task, and so I do want to just point that out as a great accomplishment.
If you could move your mic a little closer to your mouth.
In addition,
Thank you.
over the break, we were also able to strip and wax the floors. Many of them, especially as you enter over through the main areas of the building, they look considerably better than what they did. And so it has made a great improvement on the feeling of the building and of our hallways. We're working to go through the buildings and replace broken and missing tiles and just try to get everything into a decent state of repair. One thing that we'll be talking about in committee is that the gym heat needs to be replaced. And so that is something that just needs to be notated for consideration as we go forward. And then the pool contractor came out to inspect and prepare an estimate on the 11th. So that is something else to talk through.
All right, any comments or questions on the facilities update? If not, I'll let him proceed with the athletics update.
Well, never mind, you're new. I'm not gonna ask you.
So you all can, Treasurer Creighton, Trustee Bowens, and Secretary Triplett, you can dig in at your committee report. I mean, in your first committee meeting. Trustee Gavin?
Quick question, is there any update in terms of a facilities plan?
Buzz?
Yes, ma'am. We will be having them come. Excuse me. I've spoken with two firms already, and they will be presented in our February meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you can proceed with the athletics update.
Thank you very much. For the winter sports, we have 4 sports currently that we're reporting on. The girls and boys basketball have been doing very well. As you can see, their win to loss ratio is quite good. We did single out Desiree Kyles, who has been performing extraordinarily well for our conference. And we are 2-1 for girls basketball and 2-0 in boys basketball, currently in conference play. The middle school girls basketball has their first home game on January 18th. And our wrestling program had a meet on the 11th. We have another one on the 18th and the 24th. And then they'll participate in the meet on January 28th at St. Joseph High School.
All right, any questions or comments? I'll just add that Faith is playing basketball this year at middle school, so I'm excited. She did volleyball, but this is our first time doing basketball, so you'll see my face at games. Thank you so much for providing your update, and I look forward to the work that the Facilities Committee does with you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Business and Finance, Dr. Butts, Staff Report F1. And Dr. Butts also noted that there was an additional staff report that they wanted or anticipated adding that was not notated on the physical portion of the agenda, but is on the electronic version of the agenda. And that is a staff report F2. Just to kind of clarify, there is a grant for CTE that Home Depot is wanting to provide to the district. And so I'm wondering if there is a vote to amend the agenda to allow them to present that to us for vote.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to allow us to vote on receiving the Home Depot CTE grant. Can we also zoom in on the screen so that our people in the audience can see it?
Is there a second or support?
I support.
All right, thank you. So Dr. Bush, you can begin with staff report F1 and then continue with staff report F2.
For staff,
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need
It was seconded by trustee Raquel Martin. Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote for amendment of that agenda? Thank you, Vice President.
Supported it? Who made the motion?
Treasurer Creighton did and Raquel Martin supported.
I have a question about it, right? Oh, we need to amend the agenda first. Okay, gotcha.
Calling the vote for amendment of the agenda.
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now is this F1 here or is this F2?
that's F2. I gotta
Okay, go
there.
ahead with your monthly financials and then we'll go into F2.
Subject monthly financial report, reason for board consideration, a set of financial reports is provided to the Board of Education each month. Facts and analysis this evening, it is recommended that the November 2022 payments be approved for all the district funds. Policy reference 6470, payment of claims. Strategic plan goals none. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the November 2022 payments for the following funds: General Fund, $871,315.77. Food Service Fund, $151,190. Sinking Fund, 2007 Sinking Fund, $21,200 for a total of $1,043,705.77.
Is there a motion to approve staff report F1?
I place a motion to approve staff report F1.
Is there a second or support?
I second the motion.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by trustee Raquel Martin. Dearest Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll for staff report F1?
Nope, because I got a question.
About questions, comments, concerns, Treasurer Creighton.
I was just gonna make a comment, actually. I'm really excited that we have an accounting firm to actually go through and to make sure that these things are balanced, because as the treasurer, I just wanted to be noted, I am very nervous that we are doing these things in good faith, but this will be the last month that I'm personally going to do this without having some, so we do plan to have our first committee meeting in a couple of weeks and getting in with the new accounting firm to make sure that we are making good, sound decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, Dr. Bush, you can proceed with staff report F2, and I thank you for letting me know of that oversight so we can make sure we can present this because it's really good news.
This
Madam
is-
President, I don't have a staff report F2 on mine.
Yeah, it's an oversight on your roll call sheet as well as we didn't have it on our hard copy of our agenda. So we had to make an amendment to allow us to accept this information.
So we can't see tonight.
It's behind you.
It's presented on the prompter.
I'll do this right here.
And thank you, Madam President, and to the board for allowing this vote to go through. It is an honor to receive this grant. It was just bestowed upon us. Reason for board consideration, a recipient approval for a grant that was awarded by Home Depot that was applied for by Mr. Corson to Benton Harbor area schools. Facts and analysis this month, Home Depot selected Benton Harbor area schools to be the recipient of $13,100 for the district improvements to our CTE Constructions Trade Program. Policy reference none. Recommended action that the board approve the grant for $13,100.
All right. Is there a motion to approve staff report F2?
I make a motion to support F2, staff report F2.
Is there a second or support?
Or
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Secretary Triplett. Questions, comments, or concerns?
oh, I do have one.
Go ahead.
Would they be able to pull this down? I want to know, will you be able to? pull
It'll
it
be a
down?
check written.
I just want to know, I mean, I just thought I.
We do have an accounting firm that has started. They're working in the building
Okay.
and they've dived right in. And they have a local office here in St. Joe and a big office in Grand Rapids.
Okay. The
No
pull down.
shots to the finance committee. We getting this thing together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
No problem.
Treasurer Creighton.
Shady, shady, shady. Okay, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report F2.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett. Yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much to Dr. Buss for providing the financials and presenting that grant to us as well. We're gonna proceed with human resources and we're passing it on to Chief Gibb.
Hello, everybody. Reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140 and 4140. Natalie Pantaleo, paraprofessional. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
So moved.
Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Bowens, and I'll defer to Trustee Bowens for his question.
We need to make sure our records show that before we vote on this, that the effective date and the date of hire need to be reversed.
Yes, sir. I have already made the change online. I just caught that.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Bowens. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
President Robinson.
You have the floor.
I believe that it was indicated that if a staff person was leaving the district, that they have the option of us reviewing the exit interview. Is it possible to include whether or not they opted in for us to see their exit interview on this document? And then link that exit, if it's a yes, link that exit interview to the document so that we can review it before we're voting.
You have the floor.
So we can provide that information to the board. We do not recommend including it on this document because this is the actual resolution. And often we do not have that information at the time this is read. For example, for this person, we do not have the exit interview back yet. We may get it in the next week or so.
Okay, so what I would ask and follow up to Trustee Gavin's question, because I know that we brought this point up before, that we get them it's scarce that we get them. So can we just be forwarded those when they indicate that it's okay for us to see them?
We have forwarded all of those that have indicated they allowed it to be shared. We have forwarded all of them to the board.
Just
I'm
a
only
point of
saying
clarity.
Less than
President
ample, but you have the floor.
So even if it's not available yet, if that can be indicated on the document, does that make sense? So exit interview available to board yes, no, not yet available. You know what I mean? So that we can know that they opted in or opted out or have not yet indicated.
So what I'll do is ask that the HR committee discuss what that looks like a little bit more in detail, just the system, putting something in place as it relates to the form as well as the board getting the update, because I haven't seen many of them. Secretary Triplett.
Yeah, I've only seen, the ones when they want to. I've only seen the ones when they want to dog the board. Everybody else evidently refused to, um, do an exit interview, from my understanding. The only exit interviews that I have seen is those where they want to say how horrible we are as a board and individuals on the board. Those come quickly. You don't even have to request them. They're sent and they almost traumatize you when they pop up in your email unexpectedly. So maybe, I don't know what the protocol is, you know, and I like I said, I've only seen two. So I think, and to piggyback on what Trustee Gavin is saying, I think that even if I would like for the Human Resource Committee to look into developing a document to say that they refuse to do an exit interview with their signature on it, so that we can have some clarification with their signature stating that they refuse to do an exit interview. But I do have two archived.
Madam
Blistering
President,
ones. Thank you.
I
I
have
go my time.
Trustee Raquel Martin, and then we'll go to Treasurer Creighton.
We do share the interviews, the exit interviews of the ones that say we can. And I think we can't demand that they do that. They can't, that they do an exit interview. We appreciate it when they do, and we certainly appreciate it when they let us share it. But all of that is confidential information, and if they don't want to share, there's nothing we can do about it.
They share with you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Treasurer Creighton.
Madam President, I'm so excited to hear an update from the HR committee on the last Wednesday of the month. At this time, I would like to call for the vote.
Thank you. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for staff report H1?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
No.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, and I've noticed on the back there's a H2, but I don't have an H2 on my agenda. Is that just for our personal reference?
Information is
That's just
said.
informational only, right? Did I overlook that?
This is for information only. That is correct.
Okay.
I do see it on the agenda.
It's not on the hard copy that I have, so that's why, but you can go ahead and review it.
This is for submitting for board information. Only the list of transfers, new assignments, and returns from medical leave. We thought information would be appreciated. Policy reference 3130 and 4130. Robert Kearney, teacher, environmental science at the high school, returning from medical leave, and Mr. Paul Corson, chief of student support services. It is a new assignment. No action is necessary at this time.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna proceed with the agenda. Old business. I have none that I can think of. But if I do, it'll come back to me. New business. I had the superintendent public forum, so I know we previously discussed as a board having a public meeting that included our stakeholders from the strategic plan. It will be a public meeting, so the public would be able to provide insight as well on us getting that community feedback as to whether or not we want to actually do a superintendent search, et cetera. I wanted to see what dates work for you all. There were 2 dates that I thought might be good, but there may be others that you all suggest. January 31st, which is the last Tuesday of the month. I didn't know if you all would be too fried for another meeting this month. The alternative option would be 2/7. That following Tuesday at 5:30, and that would be our opportunity to engage the
community through way of that stakeholder support group, but also through public comment, or whether or not essentially we want to do a full search for a superintendent, or if we feel as though we're in good hands with Dr. Buss. Dr. Buss would not be present at that meeting, of course, because of the topic being discussed, but I just wanted to gauge whether or not February 7 worked for everyone.
Anniversary
Your wedding anniversary?
will not be available.
Okay, so,
February the 7th.
so what about that Wednesday? That would be February the 8th.
I work.
Well, you know what? I will come back to you guys. I would like to have it before our board meeting, the 14th, but if that's not feasible, we'll have to do it. I'm just trying to get use of as much time as we have, because if we ultimately decide that we're going to do a search, we have a limited window of time to do that. So to prevent us from going back and forth on dates, since everyone has such busy schedules, I'll more than likely maybe do a, you know how you do the survey, you can send online and just have people give me input on what date options work best for them.
I do have a question though.
You have the floor.
Yeah, so why can't Dr. Buss be there? Like, what's going to be?
Well, I didn't know if people would feel uncomfortable being honest with the person of discussion in the room, but I'm not opposed to him
But does
being.
it have anything to do with him, or does it have to do with the actual?
So the conversation that I would think is whether or not the community feels they are satisfied with the interim that we have, or if they want to give us that feedback, or if they would like us to do a search to see if there are alternative options for superintendent.
Gotcha. I don't want it to be a bad session at all.
Yeah.
I want it to be something
That's
positive.
engaging.
So if
And
we could think about a way that we can facilitate that.
so I've
so that
actually
it
reached
is-
out to MASB. I can't, my apologies, I can't think of his name, but the person that's actually over superintendent searches for MASB. I did reach out to Deb Macon, but she said she'd be willing to support, but she thought he would be a better person to come in because it's his specialty. So I just have to engage him in what that particular conversation should look like and what that agenda would look like. But I wanted to start with dates. So I'll just wrap it back around to everybody on the date.
And I will be open to a non-Tuesday, like a Wednesday, if that'll be possible. I'm
Okay,
open
and
to it.
normally I try to do Saturdays, but then the
No.
feedback I got is that you all think it might be better on a weekday in the evening. So I tried to be cognizant of that, but I will circle back and try to find some other options, and then we'll get a date set.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
we also talked about, we pulled a powerful team together to work on our strategic plan.
That's what I was mentioning.
Yeah, and now that we have new board members too, well, we were given an opportunity, each one of us, trustee Gavin, each one of us was given an opportunity to identify, to recommend people that we thought would be great to have at the table. And so we go through and revisit that list, and if you have a group of people, you know, someone, it was like 5, I think we had 5 people that we wanted to have at the table. So we add to that list because some of those people, possibly, Madam President, would not be a part of the process, like the Baron Risa president or superintendent of Baron Risa, to be more community oriented. And we might want to update that list and then give our new board members an opportunity to bring in people too, so that we can use that same thing, because they are connected with the strategic plan. We did a lot of great work in that area. I think that would help. And if we got somebody else that we would like to add since that has happened, and then I think we will automatically, Liz has that data.
It's an Excel sheet. We can just go in and update it.
Okay.
All right, I thought about something I forgot in committee. So each committee, as I stated, has at least 1 or 2 returning members to the committee. We have a strategic plan in place. I did discuss with Dr. Buss that I would like for there to be an item of reflection on the committee agendas. That's the strategic plan. So that from a governance standpoint, each committee can look at how they are doing or how that particular area is doing as it relates to staying on track with what the goal is of the strategic plan.
Right.
So I do want that to be a standing item on the agenda for committee meetings to actually have
the strategic plan be a topic of discussion. And then the other thing is what I'm asking you all to do for February is when you come back to us in your February meeting, you're gonna come back and let us know, of course, what you did in your meeting, who your chair is. But then I'd also like for each committee to identify like 2 or 3 major goals from a board standpoint for your committee. And it does need to be, it would make sense, of course, to be in alignment with the strategic plan. But for example, we would anticipate that the facility committee's goal would be the facilities plan. So just what the board would like to do, or what your priorities are going to be in your work this year in alignment with the strategic plan. And you can have your chair report back to us on that.
Madam President, I think too, I think that the committee should meet before anyone from central administration is involved in it. We should have our committee meeting with just the board members who are on that committee. And then we have our chairman and what have you. We identify our chairman. And then we talk about our goals, what we would like to present. And then when we get ready to go into the committee meeting
You can be
with the
prepared.
staff, yeah, we'll be prepared.
Okay.
We will have established the protocol before going into it, instead of doing it in their presence. Because again, they are not members of the Board of Education.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I like that idea, except I do need to have a committee meeting this month. So is that something that we can possibly do and then?
Before. our
Yeah,
committee meeting,
maybe
I
we can
understand.
have, that's a good idea, but I mean, yeah, so maybe we can do committee meetings like next week. And then cause I know next week is what, the 3rd?
So each individual committee can touch base and see when
Gotcha.
you want to do your pre-meeting, so that when you go into the actual committee meeting with the staff present, that you're prepared.
Do we have to do that?
I wouldn't. What you gotta get?
So I think the theory,
saying,
okay,
is
I'm
that something that's
I'm
required us to
reclaiming
do?
my position as chair. And I'm gonna ask that no one speaks unless given the floor. I believe what Secretary Triplett is attempting to communicate is that he would prefer that the board do the legwork before coming into the committee meeting, so that the committee meeting is not boggled down with those conversations. So it would just be a quick pre-meeting between the 3 trustees about what the board's goals would be and who the chair is. And then when you get into your actual meeting with your chief, that's just a point on the agenda. However, I will leave that to each committee to determine whether or not that is something that you would like to do. And I would ask that you guys communicate amongst yourselves very lovingly in nature in making that decision, because you're only required to do the actual committee meeting. However, you can do the pre-meeting as well. Anything else for new business? Hearing none, we're going to proceed. Is there anyone for open public comment?
Mr. Gunter?
Did you have a comment? Public comment? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna go to Dr. Buss with superintendent announcements and comments.
Thank you, Madam President. Following highlights, I'd first like to congratulate Principal Delandra Patterson on being selected as one of 6 principals in the state of Michigan for a principal's library this month by the MIPSPA organization. I don't think I have that up there. It's my board highlights. Ms. Liz, do you want to share the board highlights?
Who did you say?
From MIPSPA, it's the Middle School Association,
And who was selected?
Delandra Patterson.
Oh, okay.
That honor was bestowed upon her by the MIPSPA executive director that came down and presented it to her.
Wow.
Also, again, another congratulations to Ms. Madison Collins for being crowned Miss Benton Harbor this past weekend. She will proudly represent our community in the upcoming pageants. Congratulations to Mr. Corson for the Home Depot grant for moving the needle forward for our district. And again, another happy, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. And also an applaud to yourselves, a happy Board Appreciation Month for doing the hard work. They did and having the hard conversations of the board and doing the work of the board. So my applause to you for being the gracious board that you are. So thank you for that. And looking forward to the new community bus and the plans moving forward with it with our community partners and our school district and disseminating the information that we have for our community and breaking that barrier from school to community. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we have board member announcements and comments. We're going to begin with Trustee Gavin.
I wasn't ready. It's been a great night. Thank you. I want to thank President Robinson for keeping your word and putting the bylaw ideas on the agenda. I appreciate that. I appreciate that we have an opportunity for a policy committee to look through and see what works. I'm excited about that. I'm excited that the board is interested in kind of slowing down to make sure that we are acknowledging racial equity issues in our hiring and in our contracts. And I just want to be clear that this is never an issue of wanting to undermine the superintendent or anything like that. I definitely just want to remind us that if we don't consider those things, nobody else is going to do it for us. And so I'm just really grateful that the superintendent is gracious and working with us on that. And I'm grateful for the board members who voted in that way. I am excited for what's possible, and I'll just keep it brief there. Just looking forward to continuing the work.
Thank you. Next, we have Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes. I'd like to thank Dr. Butts for the bus. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works with our district. And, and I know it's a great avenue, a great way to reach parents and to work with parents and, to put it out there for them that, that's a way that they can connect with the schools. So I am looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to working with my new committees and the work that we are going to be doing and monitoring. And I'm looking forward to meeting with my first Berrien Reeser as a representative to the Berrien Reeser school boards Wednesday, January 25th. So I am looking forward to that. And to all of my colleagues, let's just keep going forward and doing the work that helps to raise the academic achievement of our students. And for Mrs. Waddell, I like to say that I think you're doing a great job in showing us how what you're doing is working with students, that the achievement is going up a little bit in increments, but it is moving forward. And I'm grateful to see that, because in the long run, the bottom line is student achievement and academic growth for our kids.
Thank you. Next, we have Treasurer Creighton.
Hi, good evening again. I'm really excited to be here. This meeting was almost as long as the Miss Ben Harbor pageant. No, seriously though, I just want to give a shout out to Madison College, Miss Benton Harbor, who is a student at Ben Harbor High School. And also Tyler, is it Valentine, who is not a current student, but has definitely lived in this district, and family pays a lot of taxes to our district.
His
So,
mother is class of 2003.
this is my comment. Give me my time back. I reclaim my time. But no, seriously, really, really excited into the entire court. I was on the 2001 Miss Ben Harbor court. And so, just like any team, it's no I in team. And so you happen to have one person who represents the entire team. However, that court or that team definitely plays a role in the success of the queen and the king. So just wanted to say that. Also wanted to thank our chiefs for the good work. I know that we're in a different position, and so you don't always see things the way that we see it, but I do want you to know that, you happen to have to sit at these meetings, but We do have your backs, even if it doesn't always seem like it. We do appreciate you. We know that you're doing some hard work. And to be honest, many of us have been in your seats or similar seats in the position. So we know that this is not always the easiest place to work, but it's good work and it's worth it. And so just pat yourselves on the back, even if we don't always give you your flowers. We do appreciate you. We just have a tough way of showing it. And so I just wanted to say that. Also wanted to thank my colleagues. One of my goals this year is to make sure that we have more efficient meetings. And so I'm not sure what that might look like, but I'm sure that at our next retreat, we can talk about some time management and ways to balance our agendas so that you guys aren't here all day and all night. Many of us have also worked a full-time job all day. And so I left the house this morning at 7:30 and I haven't seen my kids today. And so, you know, they don't always understand. And so just wanted to kind of throw that out there. But to also say that, like I said, this is good work and this is about family and it's about community. And I think one big thing that Madison did talk about in her platform, you know, when you listen to her parables and her analogies, she talked a lot about it. But one big thing that she talked about, she lost one of her parents when she was some months old. Another one, no, I'm sorry, she said one at 10 and one at 16. And so when she was saying that, I was thinking about, like, you know, all of us are from different walks of life and, you know, we have our own things going on. And I had some stuff going on and I did receive calls and text messages from employees and also board members. And so that's what it's about. And then I went to MLK Day celebration on Monday and they talked about a community. And then, you know, we talked about Dr. King, but also about the unity that he brought in community. And then I went on a prayer call and it was the same thing. And so if I don't leave you guys with anything else, we have to think about how can we together bring the unity back in community?
All right.
Thank you, Treasurer Craig. Next, we have Secretary Triplett.
I do not have any comments. Thank you.
Well,
Run.
This is
Nah.
electric.
next we have Vice President Bowen.
Good evening. Next month, February 18th, we'll be hosting the Michigan Black Summit here in Benton Harbor at LMC. Our own distinguished board president will be on the panel. It will be state reps, mayors from different cities, state board of education members, small business owners and everything. So it's going to be next month at the Mendel Center, Saturday, February 18th. With the surprise guests that will be joining us. So if you're not out, save the date. It's gonna be nice. You know, back in 1993. Oh, and next tomorrow, you can join us at, I'm sorry, you just reclaiming my time. Next month. So, next month. God darn it,
Tomorrow.
No, back in 1993, we had a superintendent. Then at that time, the governor came into town wanting to shut the school district down. They said our kids were out of control, worthless, and all of those stereotypes. But this superintendent had a vision. Every morning, those kids would get up and they would sing it at every school. I believe in the children of the future by Whitney Houston. He just didn't stay in the four walls of the schools. He went out and made sure they had school on Saturday, into the Highland projects, bus projects. And we start to see our motivation go up and the test scores started to rise up. And he was Superintendent Sherman Allen. So again, I would advise anybody that has not read it, read the book, The Other Side of the River. And maybe sometimes we got to go back to some of those old ways to get some new results. Tomorrow at LMC at 7 o'clock, we will be hosting a town hall about what is allyship. So if you're not doing anything, you can come on out. Our very own vice president will also be on the panel. President, sorry, she'll be on the panel. So that's it on my notes. Thank you.
You're out of time. I'm kidding.
I'm reclaiming my time.
All right, so it's to me.
I'm going to keep it very short and sweet. I just want to say thank you all for your patience with our meeting this evening. Thank you to the public and to our chiefs for also attending. Just want to remind you guys that this agenda was a little more hefty because we had items from December storm. We had to cut down the stuff from that December agenda as well as stuff from the organizational meeting. And then adding the policy update from Ms. Gavin. I don't anticipate February will be as lengthy as we begin to work on that agenda. I'm really excited for the committees that we have in place and looking forward to getting your first official committee updates for the year next month. And I will follow up with each of you regarding the superintendent public forum. And congratulations to our Mr. and Mrs. Benton Harbor. Miss and Mr. Benton Harbor of 2023. And just would also like to ask for you all's pairs for the class of 2003, as well as the friends and family of Danita Bailey, who I found out via Facebook passed away. It's my classmate. So I don't have any other details, but just asking that you all keep her friends, family in the class of 2003 in your prayers and the loss of Miss Bailey. But without further ado, congratulations to Paul. Nice to see you at the table. Thank you, Dr. Buss. I love the bus. I look forward to seeing the press release. That's all I have for today. I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
I put a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Support. The motion has been made by trustee Bowens and Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Creighton. Questions, comments, concerns?
I didn't understand what he said. Was he speaking in tongues?
Secretary Triplett, can you please
Clear.
call the vote for adjournment?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, our meeting is adjourned officially at 9:04 p.m.
So long.